Chapter 61. Four innate realm warriors of the same level had joined forces to kill him. They were all experienced fighters and were in their prime. Although Chu Xiu had successfully killed 3 of them, he had also suffered some injuries. But it didn't matter. There was still a long time before the opening of the Liang mountain relic. He could completely recover from these minor injuries before the relic opened. Looking outside the inn, Chu Xiu's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. He had killed 3 people, but there was still 1 left. At this time, a group of people had gathered outside the inn. Most of them were low-level Jianghu people. It was very common for those who mingled in the Jianghu to fight with each other. It was normal for those who sold goods to steal business, and those who opened martial arts schools to cause trouble. However, a real life and death fight was relatively rare for them, especially when it involved a life and death fight between Xiantian realm martial artists. Furthermore, the people who attacked him were not nameless figures in the region around the Linzhong commandery. Someone who came later asked curiously, "Everyone, what's the situation inside?" One of the warriors who had witnessed the whole process sighed and said, "What a terrible fight." Cold Mountain Sword Li Qingfeng of Linzhong Commandery's lofty mountain prefecture was beheaded in an instant. Li Qingfeng had obtained the 4th Revolution precious weapon, Cold Mountain Heavy Sword, and made a name for himself not long ago. But he died just like that. It was really bad luck. And deadly twin spears Zhang Yu of Leping Commandery. When he was young, he only learned a little martial arts from a martial arts school's boxing master before he came out to roam Jianghu. He had 2 spears, but unfortunately, his death was even more tragic. His head was directly twisted off, and blood spurted out a foot high. The warrior who used the fast sword was the strongest. He seemed to be from a big sect. I couldn't tell the specifics. In the end, he was also stabbed through by someone. Only the chief escort of Fu Wei Escort Agency, Lu Yuanhai, retreated at the last moment. He didn't rush forward and fight with his life on the line. That old fox had always been very sly. When he encountered a strong enemy, he would definitely throw away the client's goods to save his life. It was normal for him to do such a thing. As for the killer, TSK, his strength is really strong, and his methods are also really ruthless. However, I really don't know him. When did our Linzhong commandery have such a fierce person? That warrior explained the situation to the people behind him. At this time, a gentle voice suddenly sounded. If I am not wrong, that sword user should be using the Purple Lightning Azure Light Sword of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect Secret 8-character sword art. The other is a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect of West Chu, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. The cultivator turned his head and saw a white-robed, incomparably handsome young man with a faint smile on his face. He didn't know when this young man had appeared beside him. The most eye-catching thing about the white-clothed young man was the silver halberd on his back. The shape of the halberd was huge and ferocious. It didn't match his handsome appearance and temperament at all. The warrior was just about to say something when he saw Lu Yuanhai run out in a panic and look around. Feeling the murderous intent coming from behind him, Lu Yuanhai couldn't care so much. Everyone was watching and they surrounded the inn. Lu Yuanhai randomly chose a direction and slashed forward. He shouted angrily, "All of you, get out of my way." The direction Lu Yuanhai was looking for was the direction of the talkative warrior. This warrior's mouth was very sharp, but seeing Lu Yuanhai slash at him, he was so frightened he forgot to dodge and stood there in a daze. Just as he was about to be chopped down by Lu Yuanhai's blade, the white-robed young man beside him suddenly raised the long halberd in his hand. The crescent blade on the body of the halberd flickered with a frightening cold light. It was just a light flick, but there was a great force that attacked. The blade in Lu Yuanhai's hand was instantly shattered, and he himself spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. But at this time, Chu Xiu had already appeared behind him. The red sleeve knife directly pierced through Lu Yuanhai's heart from the back. The martial artist who had escaped death stared dumbfoundedly at the handsome young man beside him. He was actually a Xiantian realm martial artist. Chu Xiu pulled the red sleeve knife out of Lu Yuanhai's corpse. Looking at the young man holding the halberd, who was so handsome that even women would be jealous, he suddenly felt that the other person was somewhat familiar. "Thank you for your help." Chu Xiu bowed to the person. The young man smiled and said, "No need to thank me. With your strength, without me, he wouldn't have been able to escape. I was just disdainful that this person didn't dare to fight to the death with you, but dared to be so arrogant to the bystanders." "Right, why did they want to kill you?" Chu Xiu sheathed his knife and said casually, "I killed the entire family of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect warrior. Now, he naturally wants to kill me. It's that simple." A strange look appeared in the young man's eyes. Killing in the martial world, or even the annihilation of an entire family, was very common. But when a normal person was asked about this, they would definitely explain how much hatred they had with the person, and how they were forced to kill, and so on. But this person in front of him played it down and said that he had killed his entire family. He was so frank and natural. This was the first time he had seen such a person. At this time, Chu Xiu saw that the innkeeper was still hiding in the crowd. Looking at the destroyed inn, he wanted to cry but had no tears. Chu Xiu threw an ingot of silver to the innkeeper and said, "You destroyed your inn, put the silver on me." "That's right, send some good dishes to my room tonight. After a battle, I need to replenish my energy." Holding the silver in his hand, the innkeeper really wanted to cry this time. "You still want to stay here?" If this happened a few more times, his inn would not just be destroyed, but torn down. But he did not dare to refuse. He had seen many people of the martial world, but it was the first time the innkeeper had seen someone as vicious as Chu Xiu, someone who killed so decisively. The young man on the other side looked at Chu Xiu with interest. Ever since he stepped into Jianghu, he had seen many people. There were good people and evil people, but most of them were hypocrites and despicable people who wandered between good and evil. If you said this person was evil, he could say that he had killed someone's entire family without batting an eyelid. Just now, he had been vicious. But just now, he could still think of the innkeeper, an ordinary person's loss. Even some martial artists who had been famous for a long time would unconsciously look down on ordinary people. The young man cupped his hands and said to Chu Xiu, "I am Lu Fengxian of Wuxia Xianxia. Of course, I am not the Fengxian of the ancient devil Marquis Lv Wenho, but Fengxian of the Impatiens." After hearing the young man's self-introduction, Chu Xiu's eyes suddenly shrank. He finally realized who the other party was. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Chu Xiu also cupped his hands and said, "I am Chu Xiu, the Xiu that means everything is over." Lu Fengxian held his long halberd and said with a smile, "Brother Chu, I still have to go to Luyang Mountain to join in the fun. Let's talk again when we have time." After saying that, Lu Fengxian directly left. Chu Xiu looked at his back, but it was unknown what he was thinking. In the year after transmigrating and being reborn, Chu Xiu had seen many people, but there was not one that could be called an important person in the original plot. A name that could be remembered by Chu Xiu must be an important person that could stir the world in the original plot, and even push the entire history of the martial world forward. For example, Zhang Baitao, who he had just killed, was an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. He came from the 7 sects and 8 schools, and could be considered a young hero of the righteous martial world. If Chu Xiu had not interfered, and according to the normal plot, the other would most likely have become a supervisor or an elder of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. He would have been a person in the higher ranks of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. In the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, he was a person, but in the entire martial world, he was not enough. But this Lu Fengxian, who was so handsome that even women could not help but be jealous, was a hero that could influence the entire martial world in the original plot. Lu Fengxian's name was very interesting. It was the same sound as an ancient legendary expert, Marquis Lv Wenho, who was revered as the demon god. Because his name was Fengxian, it was a bit feminine. However, Lv Fengxian had never avoided this point. He had even told others that because his parents were illiterate, they saw impatience blooming when they went out to give birth to him, so they named him Lv Fengxian. Lu Fengxian did not come from a large sect. His martial arts were learned from a disabled old soldier from the northern Yan military in the village when he was young. It was not profound, but he walked the path of extreme killing. After wandering the Jianghu, LV Fengxian gained some fame in a few counties in the west of Yan. However, it was not because of his martial arts, but because of his loyalty and gentleness. He made friends with many people in the Jianghu, and some people even gave him the nickname Little Marquis Wen. Of course, this nickname was mostly a mockery of his name. But no one had expected that a decade later, Lu Fengxian would receive the supreme cultivation methods of the ancient demon god Marquis Lv Wenho, the Nine Heavens Fiend Golden Body, and the demon god Peerless Halberd. He became the famous heir of the demon god, Jade Face Marquis Wenho Lu Fengxian. But from then on, Lu Fengxian always wore a hideous demon god mask, and rarely showed his true appearance. Chapter 62. Chu Xiu didn't expect that he would meet Lu Fengxian, the famous Jianghu Jade-Faced Marquis in the future, on this trip to Luyang Mountain. In Chu Xiu's memory, Lu Fengxian didn't appear in the treasure hunt at Luyang Mountain. Of course, it was possible that he did, but Lu Fengxian was just a nobody in the Jianghu at that time. He didn't even get on the Longhu list, nor did he shine in the treasure hunt, so there was no record of him in the plot. The evaluation of Lu Fengxian in the future was very interesting, because there were as many people who scolded and praised him in the Jianghu. Lu Fengxian was definitely not a person of the righteous Dao. In order to seek revenge, he had chased his enemies for thousands of miles in anger. Countless people of the righteous Dao interceded and intercepted him, but they either got lost or were killed by him one by one. From this point, it could be seen that Lu Fengxian was definitely a person of the diabolism with an extreme character. Even among his friends, there were many who came from the diabolism. Later on, he also practiced the diabolism skills, so most people considered him to be on the side of the diabolism. But if you said that he was a person of the diabolism, Lu Fengxian had never killed innocent people. On the contrary, as long as there was something he couldn't stand, he would attack regardless of whether the other party was from the righteous Dao or the diabolism. Moreover, the reason why he killed people was very simple. If he felt that they deserved to be killed, then they deserved to be killed. Just like Lu Yuanhai just now, if Lu Yuanhai hadn't slashed with his saber, Lu Fengxian wouldn't have stopped him. He would have just silently dodged. But Lu Yuanhai just had to slash with his saber, which made Lu Fengxian feel that he was a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He was very annoying, so he took action. Moreover, Lu Fengxian had many friends in the Jianghu. Although he wasn't very righteous and had friends all over the world, as long as they were his friends, Lu Fengxian would definitely help them to the end, so no one could say a bad word about him. Of course, it was not only his friends who praised Lu Fengxian in Jianghu. There were also some young ladies from aristocratic families and female disciples from large sections. Even though looks were considered as an embroidered pillow in the Jianghu, people like Lu Fengxian, who had both looks and strength, were extremely attractive to women, aside from the fact that he did not have a powerful sect behind him. These were just other people's evaluations of Lu Fengxian, but if Chu Xiu were to evaluate Lu Fengxian, Chu Xiu could only say that he was a very self-centered person. In Lu Fengxian's heart, there was no such thing as good or evil. If he felt that this was the right thing to do, then he would do it. If you become his friend, he will come to help you. If you provoke him, he will definitely not show mercy when he kills you. In any case, for Chu Xiu, there was absolutely no harm in making friends with someone like Lv Fengxian. The corpses in the inn were all cleared out. Chu Xiu went through the pockets of the people in front of everyone. Other than Zhang Baitao, who had some precious medicine produced by the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, the other three had nothing of value. But thinking about it, it was reasonable. After all, they did not have a secret space box like Chu Xiu, who would put all his possessions in it. Taking away the bottles of medicine, Chu Xiu went upstairs and prepared to return to his room to heal. But at this time, Chu Xiu seemed to think of something. Just now, Zhang Baitao seemed to have said something. It seemed that these people had come to help him kill him because of that young master. Previously, Chu Xiu had been wondering how Zhang Baitao had found these three people to work together to kill him. Zhang Baitao was a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword sect and did not have any connections in the northern Yan. While the Ba Mountain Sword sect was one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, the 7 sects and 8 schools were not the Buddhist sects of the north and south. They only had a certain amount of local power. Outside of their respective regions, it was the same thing. It all depended on whether the other party gave them face. So the Azure Water Sword sect only put out a wanted order for Chu Xiu in the Wei Commandery. Because they also knew that outside of the Wei Commandery, even if someone saw Chu Xiu, they would not bother to tell them, unless they offered a sufficiently tempting reward. Now it seemed that Zhang Baitao had asked the young master for help, and the young master took the lead to have 3 connate martial artists help Zhang Baitao kill him. As for who this young master was, it was not hard to guess. In a place like the northern Yan, who had this kind of face and could make a disciple from a large sect like Zhang Baitao address him as young master, other than the young master of the mortuary manor, Ling Yunbiyu and Ye Donglu, who else could it be? Thinking of this, Chu Xiu laughed coldly. That young master Nye Donglu was also very active in the Jianghu later on. His father, Flip Heaven and Earth Nye Renlong, managed the mortuary manor into one of the 6 gangs. And Nye Donglu had long been famous in the Jianghu, ranked 6th on the Longhu leaderboard. The 3 people who came to kill him were not from the mortuary manor, but they had some dealings with the mortuary manor. Nye Donglu clearly felt that Zhang Baitao's status was not high enough for him to send people from the mortuary manor. Or in other words, with Chu Xiu's current strength and status, he was not high enough for Nye Donglu to send people from the mortuary manor to kill him. Although Chu Xiu did not die this time, the grudge had been formed. Moreover, if there were no accidents, Nye Donglu would also come to fight for the treasure in Liuyang Mountain. At that time, regardless of whether there was a grudge between the two, when it came to the real fight for the treasure, there would definitely be a battle. The next morning, Chu Xiu left the inn early and went to a small restaurant in Liuyang town to eat. In a small place like Liuyang town, the food and wine in the inn were a little bad, so Chu Xiu wanted to change his taste. As soon as he entered the tavern, he saw that Lu Fengxian had already ordered a table full of dishes and was eating. Beside him was his very conspicuous silver halberd. Lu Fengxian was somewhat famous in Yanxi. However, Linzhong County was located in the east of Yan Kingdom, so most warriors here did not know Lu Fengxian. However, yesterday, Lu Fengxian smashed Lu Yuanhai's weapon with his halberd, revealing his innate realm cultivation. This also let the warriors from Liuyang town know that he was also a young expert and could not be provoked. Seeing Chu Xiu walk in, Lu Fengxian quickly said, "Brother Chu, sit down and eat together." Chu Xiu did not stand on ceremony. He directly sat opposite Lu Fengxian, poured a cup of wine and asked, "Brother Lu, yesterday you went to Liuyang Mountain. Did you gain anything?" Lu Fengxian shook his head with a wry smile and said, "Nothing. I even suspect that these things are rumors, but it doesn't matter if they are rumors. I was originally prepared to travel in Jianghu, so it doesn't matter where I go." Chu Xiu said lightly, "Brother Lu, don't worry. Let's not talk about whether there is a treasure in Liuyang Mountain or not. Even if there is a treasure, the first people to hear the movement and come are those from the big sections. Now look at Liuyang Mountain, how many people are from the big sects? So you don't have to worry. When those people from the big sects also come to Liuyang Mountain, then it can prove that there is really a treasure in Liuyang Mountain." Lu Fengxian nodded and said, "That's true." After that, the two of them chatted about all sorts of things. From Lv Fengxian's point of view, Chu Xiu's character was more in line with his character, apart from being a little extreme in certain areas and having a strong killing intent. Before he stepped into Jianghu, his master told him that if he wanted to live well in this Jianghu, he had to make more friends and fewer enemies. When he could make all the people in Jianghu be his friends and no enemies, then he would be really successful in Jianghu. Lu Fengxian listened to his master more than his parents, so he had made a lot of friends since he stepped into Jianghu. But at the same time, although he was gentle and easy to talk to, his temper was also stubborn. He didn't know how to compromise and didn't care about other people's opinions. So in the past few years, he had made a lot of friends in West Yen, but he had also offended a lot of people, maybe even more. At this moment, a young martial artist in green suddenly stumbled in. Seeing that Lu Fengxian was here, he ran over and knelt on one knee in front of Lu Fengxian. He said with a sobbing tone, "Big brother Lu, I beg you to save my Qin family." Lu Fengxian quickly helped him up and said in surprise, "Qin Tong, aren't you traveling outside? Why are you here? What happened to the Qin family?" Although Lu Fengxian had only stepped into Jianghu for a few years, he had many friends. Chen Tong was one of them, and it just so happened that his family was in Linzhong Commandery. Of course, Chen Tong wasn't as strong as him. He was only in the blood condensation realm. Chu Xiu frowned slightly as he looked at Chen Tong. He felt that his crying was a bit fake. In his previous life, Chu Xiu hadn't been trash, but he had pretended to be a hedonistic young master in his family for over 20 years. In the end, he had pretended to be a bit convinced. In terms of acting skills, Chu Xiu felt that if he had acted in a movie in his previous life, it would have been possible for him to win the Best Actor award. So while Lu Fengxian didn't feel anything, Chu Xiu felt that Chen Tong was just putting on an act. Chapter 63. Lu Fengxian helped Chen Tong up and let him sit down. Then, he asked, "What happened to your Qin clan?" "Don't worry, I won't refuse if I can help you." Chen Tong quickly said, "It's like this. Our Qin clan bought a batch of secret boxes some time ago. They were all substandard products with unknown origins. We didn't expect to find anything good in them. They were supposed to be used as a gift for my father's 60th birthday. But who would have thought that there was a 6th Revolution Spirit Herb Purple Leaf Dogwood in that batch of secret boxes? Moreover, it was spread by the servants of our Qin clan. After this matter was spread out, several major forces around Cold River Prefecture, including 3 Mountain Sect, Black Tiger Gang, and Yu Clan all wanted to snatch it. If it weren't for these 3 forces being wary of each other, I'm afraid our Qin clan would have been finished long ago." When Lu Fengxian heard this, he directly held the silver halberd next to him and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry. I can't kill all the people from these 3 forces, but I'm confident that I can protect your Qin clan from them." As he said this, Lu Fengxian was about to get up, but Chen Tong quickly held him down and said, "Elder brother Lu, each of those 3 forces has more than one Xiantian expert. We can't fight them head-on. I came to ask Elder brother Lu for help. I heard that Nie Dong Lu, the young master of that place, is extremely righteous. So, I want Elder brother Lu to help us invite young master Nie Dong Lu. As long as he says the word, this matter should be solved." LV Fengxian didn't think too much and was about to agree when Chu Xiu suddenly frowned when he heard Nie Dong Liu's name. He pressed down on LV Fengxian's arm and suddenly asked, "Brother, since you want to invite Nie Dong Lu from the moribund manor, why don't you go yourself? Why do you need to trouble Elder brother Lu?" Seeing that Chu Xiu suddenly interrupted, Chen Tong was also a little displeased. However, Chu Xiu was a Xiantian expert, while he was only at the blood condensation realm. Furthermore, it seemed Chu Xiu was also Lu Fengxian's friend, so he could only say, "My Qin family is only a small family. Although my father is a Xiantian expert, those 3 families want the violet dogwood, so they definitely won't let my father leave. Even when I left this time, I had to use the excuse of going to the other prefectures to collect debts. Only after being searched by the people of the 3 clans did they allow me to leave the Cold River Prefecture. Therefore, my Qin clan has actually been placed under house arrest by the 3 clans. Not even a single servant can leave the Cold River Prefecture easily. But with my meager strength and reputation, I'm afraid I won't even be able to meet young Master Nie Dong Lu. But Big Brother Lu is different. Who doesn't know the name Young Marquis when in the west of Yen? Big Brother Lu reached the Xiantian realm at such a young age. I heard that young Master Nie Dong Lu likes to make friends with the young geniuses of Jianghu the most. If Big Brother Lu wants to meet him, he will definitely meet him." Chu Xiu secretly sneered and gave Lu Fengxian a look, indicating that he should temporarily not agree. Lu Fengxian didn't know what Chu Xiu's intentions were, but although he had only known Chu Xiu for 2 days, he knew that Chu Xiu wasn't a person who would do nothing for no reason. There must be a deeper meaning behind his actions. Therefore, Lu Fengxian said to Chen Tong, "Brother Chen, since those 3 clans won't make a move for the time being, you can stay here for a day. I still have some matters to take care of in Luyang town. Once I'm done, I'll immediately go help you." When Lu Fengxian said so, Chen Tong could only nod and agree. After all, he was asking for help. No matter how good Lu Fengxian's temper was, he couldn't force Lu Fengxian. After Chen Tong left, Lu Fengxian pulled Chu Xiu to a corner and asked, "Brother Chu, why did you stop me just now?" Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and said, "Is Chen Tong your friend? But I think there's something wrong with Chen Tong. You treat him as a friend, but he doesn't treat you as a friend." Lu Fengxian was puzzled and asked, "Why do you say so?" Chu Xiu said faintly, "It's very simple. Those 3 clans just want the treasure. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Chen Tong just handed over the treasure directly. He doesn't have the strength, but he wants to keep the treasure and drag you, his friend, down with him. Has he ever considered you as a friend? Also, he insisted that you go to the Morgue Manor to help. Even if the people of the Morgue Manor will help in the end, you should know that he will benefit in the end, but the one who owes the Morgue Manor a favor is you, Brother Lu." Seeing Chen Tong just now, Chu Xiu remembered something. It seemed that in the original plot, Nie Donglu and Lu Fengxian were also good friends, and they had a good relationship. But in the end, Nie Donglu cheated Lu Fengxian. In the original plot, Lu Fengxian helped Nie Donglu get the secret treasure left by the Kunlun devil cult. 1,000 years ago, the Kunlun devil cult's demonic flames were monstrous and suppressed the world. If it weren't for the number 1 person in Taoism, immortal Ning Xuanji, the sect master of the true martial arts sect, fighting with Duge Weiwei, the Jianghu would still be shrouded in this monstrous demonic power at this time. Therefore, people in Jianghu could tolerate the diabolism, but they were extremely sensitive to the words, Kunlun devil cult. Even if Nie Donglu was the young master of the Morgue Manor, if he got the secret treasure of the Kunlun devil cult, unless he handed it over, he would still be attacked by others. In the end, Nie Donglu used Lu Fengxian and made him bear the crime. In the end, Lu Fengxian was chased by the righteous martial arts world for several years, suffering in silence. But it was also because of that time that Lu Fengxian got the inheritance of the devil god Lv Wenho while being chased, and became famous in Jianghu. He didn't know if Nie Donglu regretted the decision he made back then, pushing away a future strong person who was on his side with his own hands. Thinking about what happened today, Chu Xiu more or less knew what had happened. Lu Fengxian and Nie Donglu probably got to know each other because of this. Lu Fengxian went to Nie Donglu for help, and as the young master of the Morgue Manor, Nie Donglu naturally wouldn't refuse such a simple request. But at that time, Nie Donglu probably didn't care much about Lu Fengxian, because Lu Fengxian was only in the innate realm. Although she was young, it wasn't unusual. And with Lu Fengxian's personality, if Nie Donglu helped him, he would definitely help Nie Donglu. That was why he was willing to take the blame for Nie Donglu later on. Even when he was being chased, he didn't give up on Nie Donglu. Of course, Lu Fengxian wasn't an idiot. After that incident, the 2 of them went their separate ways. Lu Fengxian's personality was like this. He was too trusting of others, and only learned his lesson after suffering once. Unfortunately, he narrowly escaped death every time, so he was lucky. Since Nie Donglu intervened in the feud between him and Zhang Baitao, Chu Xiu didn't mind poaching him now, so that they wouldn't have the chance to stand on the same side anymore. As for whether Lu Fengxian would miss out on Marquis Lu's inheritance because of this, Chu Xiu wasn't worried. Marquis Lu's inheritance was simply prepared for Lu Fengxian. In the entire Jianghu, except for Lu Fengxian, it was almost impossible for anyone else to get it. If this incident really affected Lu Fengxian, then Chu Xiu only needed to tell Lu Fengxian a location, and the inheritance would definitely fall into Lu Fengxian's hands. On the other side, Lu Fengxian was also a little hesitant about what Chu Xiu said. Although Chu Xiu's words made sense, Lu Fengxian still didn't want to think badly of his friend. He said hesitantly, after all, he opened the treasure himself. It is normal that he doesn't want to hand it over. Also, it is just a favor. I can afford to owe him. Chu Xiu sneered. Brother Lu, you think too simply. It is not so easy to owe favors from the Morgue village. Do you know why the Ba Mountain Sword sect disciples were able to find 3 people to kill me in the northern Yen? It was because the young master of the Morgue village was the middleman. You owe the Morgue village a favor. In the future, if the young master wants you to return the favor, but he asks you to do something you don't want to do, will you return it or not? Lu Fengxian frowned. His personality was like this. He would repay kindness with kindness and enmity with enmity. It was impossible for other people to threaten him, but if they used favors to bind him, he couldn't refuse. Also, Lu Fengxian really hadn't thought that the reputable young master of the Morgue village would do something like pimping. Even if Nie Donglu personally helped Zhang Baitao get revenge, he would think highly of Nie Donglu. But Lu Fengxian still felt conflicted. Chen Tong was his good friend. If he directly refused, it would not be good. Chu Xiu shook his head and said, Brother Lu, I have not known you for long. Even if some things are not appropriate, I still have to say them. The so-called brotherhood in the Jianghu is mostly unreliable. The only things that can maintain the so-called brotherhood are power and profit. Because you are incarnate and have some fame in Yanxi, that Chen Tong will come to ask you. Otherwise, if you are a nameless person, he may not even bother to make friends with you. Lu Fengxian felt that some of Chu Xiu's ideas were a bit too extreme. But he still smiled and said, Brother Chu, are you telling me this because of profit? Chu Xiu shook his head and said, It's just a casual chat. It's because I have no profit relationship with you that I'm telling you this. However, at this moment, Chu Xiu suddenly changed the topic and said, Brother Lu, if you want to handle this matter properly, why don't you leave it to me? You can also take the opportunity to see if that friend of yours is really asking you for help or using you. Hearing Chu Xiu's words, Lu Fengxian immediately became serious and said, Brother Chu, you said before that you are not a nosy person, and you don't believe in the so-called brotherhood in the Jianghu. Why do you suddenly want to interfere in this matter? The corner of Chu Xiu's mouth showed a trace of a smile and said, The lie is that Brother Lu and I feel like old friends at first sight. I can't bear to see you being deceived by a villain, so I came to help you. As for the truth, the purple leaf dogwood is a 6th revolution spirit medicine. Even if it is not refined into a pill, its medicinal power is extremely amazing. If those small sects want it, I also want it. This time, I'll help you test the waters. If that Chen Tong doesn't have the intention to use you, then I'll have helped you in vain. If that Chen Tong really has such intentions, then we'll split the purple dogwood in half. No one will suffer a loss. What do you think? Chapter 64. As for Chu Xiu's suggestion, Lu Fengxian thought for a while and finally agreed. At this time, Lu Fengxian was not the jade-faced marquis one who had experienced countless difficulties and finally obtained the inheritance of the devil god. Although he had been in Jianghu for several years and had seen the sinister people's hearts, he still believed in his own judgment of people. Unfortunately, the facts had proved that Lu Fengxian's judgment of people was really not good. By the way, Brother Chu, what are you going to do? Chu Xiu carefully told his plan to Lu Fengxian. After listening, Lu Fengxian hesitated and said, Is it too cruel to do this? Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, Brother Lu, I'm different from you in the way of doing things. It seems cruel to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, but it can avoid a lot of trouble. For example, why was I besieged this time? Wasn't it because I didn't completely eliminate the Zhang family? Of course, Zhang Baitao wasn't in the Zhang family at that time, so I couldn't do anything. But since there is a chance this time, I won't hold back. But in the end, if Chen Tong really wants to use you, then the Chen family will be handed over to you. I only want the things. Lu Fengxian thought for a while and directly nodded in agreement. He was not a soft-hearted person, but sometimes he was more gullible. This was his strength, but also his weakness. On the second day, Chen Tong came to find Lu Fengxian early in the morning and said anxiously, "Brother Lu, have you finished dealing with things here?" Before Lu Fengxian could speak, Chu Xiu walked over and patted him on the shoulder. With a seemingly forthright smile, he said, "Brother, don't worry. Brother Lu and I have already decided that we don't need to trouble the righteous manor with regards to your Chen family's matter. They may not have the time to manage such a small matter. Brother Lu and I will handle it. You came in a hurry yesterday and didn't introduce yourself. I am Chu Xiu, also a friend of Brother Lu." Chen Tong's facial expression changed slightly. He forced a smile and said, "Brother Chu, I think it's better to ask the Morgue Manor to take action. The three major forces have nearly 10 innate lords. They are not to be trifled with." Chu Xiu waved his hand casually and said, "So what? You are not an innate realm expert. You will know when you reach this realm. Even in the innate realm, your strength is not the same. The gap is huge." Lu Fengxian also nodded and said, "Brother Chu is right. In fact, I am confident if I am alone. But since Brother Chu is here, I am more confident." Hearing Lu Fengxian said so, Chen Tong was also very helpless. He could only say, "Then I will have to trouble you too." The Qin family was located in the Cold River Mansion of Linzhong County. It was not far from Luyang Mountain. It was less than a day's journey. So when Lu Fengxian appeared yesterday, Chen Tong had already caught up. At this time, in the Cold River Mansion, the Qin family master, Qin Yuanji, and a group of Qin family elders and collateral disciples were anxiously waiting for Chen Tong's return. It was not uncommon for a treasure to be opened in the secret box but lead to a fatal disaster. Just as Chu Xiu guessed, the Qin family was not an idiot. The best way to solve this matter was to hand over the purple leaf dogwood. "I can't afford to offend all three of you. So, this thing will belong to whoever wins. I will not participate. I will suppress my greed and admit defeat. It's that simple." But with the treasure in hand, the Qin family was not willing to hand over a sixth revolution spiritual medicine. So in the end, Qin Yuanji thought of a countermeasure. The purple leaf dogwood could be given away, but not to the Black Tiger Gang and the other two forces. They had to give it to the righteous manor. If they gave it to the Black Tiger Gang and the other forces, they would not appreciate it. Instead, they would secretly ridicule the Qin family for not being able to keep the treasure. But if they could give it to the righteous manor, then as long as the Qin family had a little relationship with the righteous manor, it would be enough to benefit the Qin family a lot. So after knowing that Lu Fengxian appeared in Luyang town, he immediately sent Chen Tong to look for Lu Fengxian. He wanted to make use of Lu Fengxian's reputation to build a relationship with the righteous manor. Just as Qin Yuanji and the rest of the Qin family were anxiously waiting, a servant ran in and shouted, "Master! Young Master is back with 2 Xiantian realm experts." Qin Yuanji was overjoyed when he heard this. If the young master could casually send 2 Xiantian realm experts, it must be the righteous manor. He immediately went out to greet them. When he saw Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian behind Chen Tong, he immediately showed a humble smile and said, "These two are the young talents of the righteous manor? This time, for a small matter of my Qin family, we have to trouble the righteous manor. I am really sorry. I will prepare a banquet to welcome you." A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face and he said, "We really shouldn't trouble the righteous manor for such a small matter." So, the two of us came. Qin Yuanji felt that something was wrong. Chen Tong smiled bitterly and said, "This is my good friend, young Marquis Wen, Lu Fengxian. As for this is Brother Lu's good friend, young Master Chu Xiu." Hearing this, Qin Yuanji immediately frowned. He wanted to invite the righteous manor. "Why did you invite them?" Qin Yuanji cupped his hands towards Lu Fengxian and Chu Xiu and said, "My Qin family is very grateful that the two of you can come to help my Qin family. However, it is safer to invite the righteous manor in our current situation." Hearing this, Chu Xiu's expression immediately became gloomy. "Master Qin, what do you mean?" Qin Yuanji hurriedly said, "Young Master Chu, please listen." Chu Xiu directly waved his hand and interrupted Qin Yuanji's words. "I am not a young master, nor do I have the habit of being a young master. This time, your Qin family came to ask Brother Lu for help. I came to help your Qin family because of Brother Lu. But now you say that you want to invite the righteous manner. What do you mean? Are you looking down on us? Brother Lu is a friend of your son, so he can ignore this. But you and I are not related. I rushed to help, but your Qin family is not willing to help. Master Chen, don't blame me for speaking harshly. You are being shameless by doing this." Chu Xiu took a step forward. An extremely strong pressure came from his body, causing Qin Yuanji's expression to change. Everyone's aura came from their own strength and status. Last time in Luyang town, Chu Xiu had killed 4 Khanate realm warriors of the same level. Among them were even Ba Mountain Sword Sect inner sect disciples, the elites of the Jianghu. This also made Chu Xiu realize what level he was in the Jianghu now. So when facing a small family leader like Qin Yuanji, his aura could definitely suppress the other party. Chu Xiu directly stared at Qin Yuanji and said, "Master Qin, since the two of us are already here, you do as you see fit. It is the first time I have seen someone come to help but ask for help. But I still have to remind you that my temper is not as good as Brother Lu's." Hearing Chu Xiu's vague threat, Qin Yuanji cursed in his heart. Cursing Chu Xiu was also cursing Chen Tong. They did not find the people from the morgue, but found such an unreasonable person who forced them to help. But now that they were here, even if the Qin clan wanted to go to the memorial hall, they had no way to find it. They could only accept this matter. However, if the two of them could really help the Qin clan protect the spiritual medicine, they would not suffer a loss. Qin Yuanji smiled bitterly and cupped his hands. "In that case, I will trouble you two young heroes." Chu Xiu directly waved his hand and said, "This matter is very simple. When I came, I already had a plan. Since the 3 families are afraid of each other and did not make a move, then we will help them break this balance. But we need something to break this balance. Master Chen, lend us your purple dogwood." Qin Yuanji's expression suddenly changed. "Young hero Chu, what do you need this thing for?" Chu Xiu faintly said, "Without enough attraction, what can I use to break the balance of the 3 families? Is Master Chen worried that we will take the purple dogwood for ourselves? Even if Master Chen does not trust me, do you not trust Brother Lu behind me?" Lu Fengxian did not speak. Before coming, he and Chu Xiu had discussed it. Everything would be decided by Chu Xiu. Now hearing Chu Xiu's words, Lu Fengxian also said, "Master Chen, although I, Lu Fengxian, am not a good person, I know what to take and what not to take. If you don't believe me, you can ask Brother Chen whether I, Lu Fengxian, am worthy of his trust." Qin Yuanji hurriedly said, "Of course, this one did not mean that." After saying that, Qin Yuanji gave a look to the servant. After a while, the servant came over with a box. It was a secret box, but it was a very rare wooden box. Qin Yuanji did not give the secret box to Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian, but directly handed it to Chen Tong and said, "After all, this is my Qin family's matter. I can't just let you 2 young heroes take action. You also go and help." A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face. Lu Fengxian was expressionless, but obviously, he was also a little uncomfortable at this time. Qin Yuanji's attitude clearly showed that he did not trust them, afraid that they would take the purple dogwood. Chapter 65. Chu Xiu looked at the box containing the purple dogwood and said, TSK, I have never seen a 6th revolution spirit herb before. I wonder if Patriarch Qin can show it to me?" Qin Yuanji smiled awkwardly and said, "It's not a problem to take a look, but the medicinal properties of this purple dogwood are a bit strange. When it is sealed, the medicinal properties will dissipate a lot every time it is opened. When we opened the box, the sealing formation was destroyed, so a part of the medicinal properties had dissipated. So we are trying to find someone to seal the purple dogwood again." Chu Xiu didn't insist, and he just revealed a mysterious smile. He turned to Chen Tong and said, "Since those 3 clans are pressuring your Chen clan so tightly, then we shouldn't delay any longer. Let's just attack. Tell me about the strength and situation of those 3 clans." Chen Tong hurriedly said, "Among the 3 forces, the 3 Mountains sect has 3 innate experts. These 3 people were actually bandits of 3 mountains in the early years. After they were annihilated by the Northern Yan army, the 3 of them were lucky enough to escape. The Yu clan is slightly weaker, but the Yu clan's patriarch and his brother are both Xiantian experts. The strongest among the 3 clans should be the Black Tiger Gang. The leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Chao Dahai, is a peak Xiantian expert. The 2 Xiantian vice leaders are also in their prime. They have thousands of members and are the strongest force." Black Tiger Gang? Chu Xiu seemed to have seen this person before. He nodded and said, "In that case, bring us to the Black Tiger Gang first." The Black Tiger Gang was also in the Cold River Mansion. When Chen Tong brought 2 people to the Black Tiger Gang, the gang leader Chao Dahai thought that the Qin clan had finally thought things through and was preparing to offer the treasures. He did not expect that Chen Tong would actually bring 2 Xiantian realm martial artists. Chao Dahai rubbed his bald head. His eyes revealed a cold expression as he said, "What is the meaning of your Qin clan's actions? Do you think you can do whatever you want in the Cold River Prefecture just because you found 2 Xiantian experts?" As soon as he finished speaking, the 2 vice leaders who were also Xiantian experts waved their hands. Immediately, a group of people rushed forward and surrounded the 3 people. "Don't you recognize me, sect leader Chao?" Chu Xiu stood up and said calmly. Chao Dahai carefully looked at Chu Xiu, and suddenly exclaimed, "Chu Xiu! You are the Chu Xiu who destroyed the Zhang family." Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "Oh? Has my reputation already spread that far?" Chao Dahai took a deep look at Chu Xiu and didn't say anything. The Zhang family was just a small family in the Shanyang prefecture. They were quite far away from the Black Tiger Gang, and they didn't have much contact with each other. Under normal circumstances, Chao Dahai didn't know about the Zhang family. However, ever since the Zhang family snatched the secret box from his hands during the last auction, Chao Dahai felt that something was amiss. The Zhang family was usually very stingy. They had never spent so much money at an auction. What was wrong with him this time? How could he be so generous? Therefore, ever since that time, Chao Dahai had been paying attention to the news of the Shanyang prefecture. He didn't expect that the news of the Shanyang prefecture being destroyed came right after, and the one who destroyed it was this Chu Xiu, the inconspicuous young man who stood behind Zhang Songling. Chao Dahai didn't care about the Zhang family. Zhang Songling was an old guard dog. The only thing he could do for so many years was to raise his son and send him to the Ba Mountain Sword sect. This was also because the competition in the Shanyang prefecture was relatively small, and the major forces were in harmony. If it was in the Cold River prefecture, based on Zhang Baichen's conduct, the Zhang family would have been destroyed 8 times. Even so, the fact that Chu Xiu destroyed the Zhang family by himself was enough to make him feel wary. Of course, right now, Chao Dahai didn't know that Zhang Baitao and the others had also died at the hands of Chu Xiu. The entire Zhang family's direct line was completely dead. Otherwise, he would be even more wary. Chao Dahai waved his hand and had his subordinates put down their weapons. He looked coldly at Chu Xiu and said, "I know you. You destroyed the Zhang family. But why are you here today? Do you want to stand up for the Qin family?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "I have no relationship with the Qin family, but this friend of mine is good friends with the Qin family, so he came to us for help." Chao Dahai sneered and said, "Aren't you trying to stand up for the Qin family?" "No, the Qin family can't even protect the purple leaf dogwood. Why should I protect it for them?" When Chen Tong heard this, he wanted to say something but was stopped by Lu Fengxian. Chu Xiu didn't care about him and said directly, "An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. If you have a treasure in your hands, you should either hand it over or protect it. Those who don't have the strength and are still stubbornly holding on are courting death. Those who don't know themselves are wise." So this time, I came to you to prepare to cooperate with you. You, me, and the Qin family. It's a win-win cooperation. When he heard Chu Xiu, Chao Dahai couldn't help but say, "Tell me, how do you want to cooperate?" Chu Xiu said lightly, "It's very simple. Now that the three parties want the purple leaf dogwood, the Qin family can't keep it, so they decided to hand it over. But if the Qin family handed it over for nothing, it would be too much of a loss. So we want to cooperate with you to destroy the Three Mountains sect and the Yu family. When the dust settles, the purple leaf dogwood will belong to you, and the Three Mountains sect and the Yu family's property will belong to the Qin family. As for me and Brother Lu, the two of us only want the cultivation resources of these two families. Brother Lu and I are rogue cultivators, so we lack a lot of things. The purple leaf dogwood isn't a medicinal pill but a spiritual medicine. With our connections, it would be too difficult to find someone to refine it into a medicinal pill. Fortunately, we didn't need it in the end. We just want the medicinal pills and other cultivation resources of these two families." Chao Dahai touched his chin, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He said, "It sounds good, but why should I cooperate with you? With the strength of my Black Tiger gang, even if we don't cooperate with you, we have the highest chance of getting the secret box." Chu Xiu stretched out his hand, condensing his heaven-piercing baleful qi inner strength into one of his fingers. He lightly drew a circle on the pillar of the Black Tiger gang's lobby. With a kacha sound, the stone pillar, which would require a person's arms to encircle it, directly tilted and collapsed. The place that Chu Xiu drew was even more neat than a knife's cut. Chu Xiu said lightly, "Of course, with our strength. If we help you, you can smoothly deal with those two families. If you don't cooperate with us, then we can go find the Three Mountains sect or the Yu family. With my and Brother Lu's strength, no matter who we help, their chances of winning will skyrocket." I don't know if this explanation is enough. Moreover, this time both of us came with sincerity. The purple leaf dogwood is in Shintong's hands. Looking at the neatly broken stone pillar, Chao Dahai's expression slightly changed. With his strength, it was not difficult for him to shatter the stone pillar with a single punch. However, it was the first time he had seen someone like Chu Xiu, who had gathered his strength together and forcefully broken the stone pillar. If such a powerful and sharp inner strength hit a person's body, even if Chu Xiu didn't use a knife, he would be able to forcibly cut open the person's stomach. Looking at the secret box, then looking at the stone pillar, Chao Dahai's expression immediately changed. He laughed and said, "Brother Chu, don't mind me, I was just saying. How do you want to deal with those two families, Brother Chu, just say it." This Chu Xiu was able to destroy the Zhang family. Obviously, he wasn't a good person. In all fairness, Chao Dahai didn't want outsiders to participate in this matter. What Chao Dahai was really afraid of was Chu Xiu's threat to cooperate with the other families. The strongest Black Tiger gang could refuse Chu Xiu, but the weakest of the three families, the Yu family, definitely wouldn't refuse. If this Chu Xiu really cooperated with the Yu family, then the Black Tiger gang would be the unlucky ones. Chu Xiu said indifferently, "The Black Tiger gang and our side, excluding the Qin family's master, have 5 Xiantian masters. Our strength can definitely suppress the other side. To shoot a man, first shoot the horse. To capture the bandits, first capture the leader. Tomorrow, I will ask the Qin family's master to release a message to summon the Tri-Mountain sect leader and the 2 Xiantian masters from the Yu family to the Qin family. When that time comes, I will make the first move. Chief Chao, you will lead your men to attack from the back. If there are no accidents, those 5 people will definitely die. When that time comes, with the strength of the Black Tiger gang, it shouldn't be difficult to eradicate the remnants of those 2 families." Chao Dahai clapped his hands and said, "No problem. We will do as Brother Chu said." Chu Xiu cupped his hands and said, "In that case, Chief Chao, let's have a pleasant cooperation." Chao Dahai also grinned and cupped his hands and said, "Let's have a pleasant cooperation." After that, Chu Xiu didn't stay any longer. He immediately left with Lu Fengxian and Shintong. After leaving the Black Tiger gang, Chen Tong couldn't help but ask, Brother Chu, didn't you say that you wanted to deal with those 3 families? Why are you working with the Black Tiger gang now? Chu Xiu glanced at him and said lightly, I lied to him. How could you believe that? After dealing with those 2 families, we will deal with the Black Tiger gang. Brother Lu, your father, and I will work together. Do you think we can't defeat those 3 people from the Black Tiger gang? Chen Tong nodded in understanding, but LV Fengxian beside him shook her head secretly. From the beginning until now, Chu Xiu hadn't said a word of truth. Of course, Lu Fengxian only hoped that the Chen family wouldn't lie to her in the end. Otherwise, no one would want to see the consequences. At this time, in the Black Tiger gang, one of the deputy leaders asked Chao Dahai, Chief, are you really going to work with Chu Xiu? Is this person really reliable? Chao Dahai touched his bald head and snorted coldly, reliable my ass. I just said it and you believed it. Temporarily stabilize him so that he doesn't cooperate with the Yu family or the 3 Mountains sect. You should have heard of the Zhang family of the Shanyang prefecture. Their eldest son joined the Ba Mountain sword sect of West Chu. That Zhang family was destroyed by Chu Xiu. Previously at the auction, this Chu Xiu pretended to be a disciple of the Zhang family and had Zhang Songling come forward to snatch a secret box from me. In the blink of an eye, the Zhang family was destroyed by this kid. This kid has a criminal record. We have to be careful. Chapter 66. Chao Dahai looked like a brute and brainless, a typical Jianghu person. But in fact, his mind was much more meticulous than most people. After the auction at Shanyang Prefecture, he felt that something was wrong with the Zhang family. That was why he sent people to Shanyang Prefecture to investigate, and found out that the Zhang family was destroyed by Chu Xiu. Moreover, if he was really brainless, the Black Tiger gang had 3 innate experts, so he wouldn't be the gang leader. Then what should we do? One of the deputy gang leaders asked. Chao Dahai snorted coldly and said, see that pillar? Chu Xiu is showing off to us. Although I'm not afraid of him, I really don't have any confidence against this kid. So this time, let's spend some money and find external help. I heard that old guy Su Chongyang was driven out by the giant spirit gang and recently returned to the Cold River Mansion. That old guy is a bit muddle-headed. How good would it be to be a local tyrant in the Cold River Mansion? He insisted on dissolving the gang he built and joined the giant spirit gang of the 6 gangs. But in just a short time, I heard that he participated in a gang fight in the giant spirit gang and was driven out after losing. With his stubborn character, he was fine in the Cold River Mansion, but he dared to join the 6 gangs of the 6 gangs. He was simply looking for trouble for himself. However, although this old guy is a bit muddle-headed, his strength is not to be underestimated. When he was in the Cold River Mansion, he had already reached the inner invulnerability stage of the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm. After that, he joined the giant spirit gang. Although he didn't step into the physical invulnerability stage, he still learned many powerful martial arts techniques. Now, although Su Chongyang is old, his strength shouldn't have declined much. Ask him to help at the last moment. Even if Chu Xiu plays tricks, it will be useless. After giving some instructions to the gang members, Chao Dahai directly left the Black Tiger gang and went to a manor outside the Cold River Mansion. Su Chongyang was a veteran of the Jianghu in the Cold River Mansion. When he was young, he was in the limelight and had a big gang under him. Unfortunately, when he was at his peak, he took the initiative to disband his gang and join the giant spirit gang of the 6 gangs of human harmony. He took the initiative to start from a small gang. If he was really able to rise to a good position in the giant spirit gang, then no one would say anything. But half a year ago, he suddenly returned to the Cold River Mansion. Only after everyone carefully inquired about it did they find out that this Su Chongyang had actually chosen the wrong side in a gang struggle and was driven out. Su Chongyang did not have much contact with the local Jianghu people after he returned to the Cold River Manor. Instead, he bought a manor outside the Cold River Manor and retired there peacefully. It was unknown whether it was because of his old age or because he was disheartened by this matter. When Qiao Dahai arrived at Su Chongyang's manor, he saw Su Chongyang practicing his fists against a few metal poles. Qiao Dahai walked over with a smile and cupped his hands. I haven't seen you for more than 10 years, Senior Su is still as elegant as ever. Su Chongyang was less than 60 years old this year, so he wasn't too old. He snorted coldly and said, still as elegant as ever? I'm afraid you're all laughing at I for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Back then, I insisted on joining the giant spirit gang, but now I've been driven back. Qiao Dahai hurriedly smiled apologetically. Others may think that, but don't you know my character? Those who laugh at you are just jealous people. If they wanted to join the giant spirit gang, I reckon that the giant spirit gang wouldn't even bother to accept them. Hearing Qiao Dahai's compliment, Su Chongyang's expression became a little better. He invited Qiao Dahai to the guest room and had someone bring a cup of tea before saying, this old man has already decided to retire from the Jianghu, so why did you come to find me? Qiao Dahai cupped his hands and said, originally, I didn't want to ask Senior Su for help, but my Black Tiger gang has encountered some trouble and would like to ask Senior Su to help kill a person. Su Chongyang's face revealed a trace of hesitation. His retirement from the Jianghu was not a joke, but ever since he was driven out by the giant spirit gang, he was indeed a little disheartened. At the same time, he also lacked energy. Otherwise, even if he was old, with his inner aura realm strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to establish a force around the Cold River Mansion. Seeing Su Chongyang's hesitation, Qiao Dahai said with a smile, Senior Su, please rest assured. This time, I only asked you to deal with a Xiantian realm martial artist. How could there be any experts in the Cold River Mansion? Moreover, after this matter is completed, I still have 1,000,000 taels of silver and 10 500-year-old ginseng shipped from Liaodong. I will definitely not let Senior Su suffer a loss. Hearing this, Su Chongyang's heart suddenly moved. Even if he was driven out by the giant spirit gang, he still had some wealth. However, since he had decided to retire from the Jianghu, he could only spend and not take in. The temptation of 1,000,000 taels of silver was not small for him. Especially the 500-year-old ginseng, which could slow down the decline of qi and blood. For a martial artist like him who was no longer at the peak of qi and blood, and was about to age, it was more attractive than 1,000,000 taels of silver. Su Chongyang only thought for a moment and said, all right, I agree to this matter. Qiao Dahai said a few more words of flattery, but in fact, he was sneering in his heart. This Senior Su did not seem to have made any progress in the giant spirit gang these years. The way he did things was still so rash. Qiao Dahai did not inquire about the other party's strength and background. Perhaps in his eyes, as long as it was a Xiantian realm existence, then he could deal with it. However, this time, Qiao Dahai really did not trick him. He only invited Su Chongyang to prevent Chu Xiu from cheating on him. Of course, if Chu Xiu did not plan to cheat on him, he would have the same plan. At noon the next day, Qin Yuanji directly invited the people from the Tri-Mountain sect and the Yu family to come over in the name of the Qin family. Qiao Dahai also seemed to have just heard the news and also came to the Qin family. In the living room, the 3 men from the Tri-Mountain sect were all dressed in black robes. Ferocious auras radiated from their bodies. They were bandits to begin with. Even though they were no longer in the business of bandits, the killing intent they exuded was still very strong. One of the martial artists with a hooked nose was the Tri-Mountain sect leader, Qi Lindong. Seeing that Qin Yuanji still did not appear, he could not help but frown. What is the Qin family doing? Do they want to hand over the purple dogwood? Yu Qinghai, the Yu family's patriarch, said lightly, no matter what tricks they play, we will definitely get the purple dogwood this time. Qiao Dahai and the 2 deputy leaders of the Black Tiger gang sat to the side without saying anything. However, he looked at the people from the Yu family and the Tri-Mountain sect as if he was looking at a dead man. From now on, it was his Black Tiger gang's turn to dominate the Cold River Prefecture. Just at that moment, someone walked out from the inner hall. However, it was not Qin Yuanji. The person in the lead was Chu Xiu. He placed the box containing the secret box on the table and sat in the main seat. Qin Yuanji and the others stood behind him. When the people from the Tri-Mountain sect and the Yu family saw Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian, their expressions changed slightly. Yu Qinghai directly snorted, "Qin Yuanji, what is the meaning of this?" Chu Xiu said lightly, "Everyone, don't worry. Today's matter has nothing to do with Patriarch Qin. Is this what you want?" As he said that, Chu Xiu directly shook the secret box in his hand. Yu Qinghai felt that something was wrong. He frowned and said, "Who are you? What is the meaning of this?" Chu Xiu placed his hand on the red sleeve saber and said lightly, "Patriarch you don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that I am here today to send you on your way. That is enough." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu unsheathed the red sleeve saber in his hand. A crimson saber light shone brightly between heaven and earth. It was incomparably magnificent and also contained endless killing intent. Even Chao Dahai, who already knew of Chu Xiu's plan, did not react when he suddenly drew his saber. In his opinion, Chu Xiu should have calmed the other party down first and then waited for an opportunity to launch a surprise attack. However, the moment he appeared, Chu Xiu immediately drew his saber. What was going on? In fact, for the current Chu Xiu, since he killed Zhang Baitao and the other three, he was almost at the peak of the innate realm. Few martial artists of the same level could match him. Since he already had absolute confidence, what was the point of talking nonsense with this group of people? Just make a move and end the battle quickly. In the crimson saber light, the power of piercing the sun and moon suddenly erupted. A thick layer of bloody killing intent enveloped the edge of Chu Xiu's saber, giving his saber a trace of extremely cruel aura. It was not until the saber was about to reach his body that the biting chill and killing intent woke Yu Qinghai up. The chair under him was abruptly shattered by his internal strength. His figure quickly retreated. A short saber appeared in front of him. In a hurry, he slashed it horizontally, trying to stop Chu Xiu. However, how could Chu Xiu's saber be so easy to block? This saber was slashed out with the Azure Dragon in the sleeve saber technique, and then with the red sleeve saber technique in the dusk drizzle as the form. Finally, the powerful killing intent and killing intent of piercing the sun and moon were condensed into power and attached to the edge of the saber. It could be said that the power of this saber, whether it was speed, strength, or momentum, had reached the extreme. It was incomparably terrifying. Chapter 67. When it came to explosive power, Chu Xiu, with his Azure Dragon sleeve and piercing sun and moon, was practically the best martial artist of his generation. Back at the inn, he was able to instantly kill Li Qingfeng in a sneak attack, not giving him a chance to retaliate. But now, he slashed out with his saber. Although it was not a sneak attack, Yu Qinghai was still unable to block it. In the blink of an eye, an ear-piercing clang resounded. Yu Qinghai's weapon had been broken by Chu Xiu's slash. Although the power condensed from baleful qi and killing intent was not stellar energy and could be released at will, it was extremely sharp. In an instant, a huge bloody gash appeared on Yu Qinghai's chest. Amidst the endless blood splattering, Chu Xiu's left hand directly used the great sacrificial grappling hand, pulling Yu Qinghai's body that had been sent flying back to his side. No matter how Yu Qinghai struggled, it was futile. The saber slashed across, and the head fell to the ground. From the moment Chu Xiu drew his saber to the moment he killed, only a short moment had passed. But in this instant, a Xiantian realm martial artist had already lost his life. There was not even time for the people present to think carefully. In fact, at this time, everyone was in a daze. It should have been a good time for Chao Dahai to make his move, but he was also frightened by Chu Xiu, and actually forgot to launch a sneak attack. At this time, Chao Dahai was constantly rejoicing in his heart, rejoicing that he had been cautious enough to invite Su Chongyang to come out. Otherwise, if Chu Xiu wanted to take advantage of the situation, he would not be able to resist at all. Who would have thought that this Chu Xiu, who looked somewhat scholarly and weak, would be so fierce and ruthless? He was simply like a hungry wolf, every move filled with killing intent. At this time, the first to react was the other Yu family martial artist. He had just drawn a long sword and rushed towards Chu Xiu with an angry roar. But at this time, Lu Fengxian, who was standing to the side, suddenly moved. He brandished his halberd, and the crescent blade smashed down with a gloomy cold light. It was just a simple move that could split a mountain, but it had an unparalleled momentum. Lu Fengxian's countenance was exceedingly beautiful. It was already strange for him to wield such a heavy ancient halberd. And now, as he made his move, the monstrous strength he exuded caused people to feel a sense of incongruity. With a loud bang, the Yu family martial artist's weapon was directly smashed by Lu Fengxian's halberd. He was sent flying while vomiting blood, and fell to the ground. Although he did not die immediately, it looked like he was about to die. The long halberd in Lu Fengxian's hand sank several inches deep into the ground, and even the floor of the entire living room cracked. In terms of pure strength, the strength of his halberd might not even be comparable to that of an internal strength realm martial artist. In an instant, one of the two Yu family martial artists was dead, and the other was on the verge of death. This kind of strength was simply crushing. At this time, a cold light flashed in Chao Dahai's eyes. He held a tiger-headed golden saber that was forged from black gold, and directly slashed at Qi Lindong of Sanshan's sect. The saber's momentum was extremely violent, and one could even faintly hear the sound of a tiger's roar exploding out. Black Tiger Saber Technique, Roaring Tiger Slash. Qi Lindong was also rich in combat experience, and he reacted immediately. In a panic, he raised the goose feather saber in his hand to block the attack, but he was forced to retreat step by step. Qi Lindong shouted angrily, "Chao Dahai! What the hell is the meaning of this?" Chao Dahai sneered and said, "What do I mean? Can't you see clearly now? Don't blame others for your own stupidity. I can't be bothered to explain it to you. Go down and be a confused ghost." As he said this, Chao Dahai directly waved his hand, and the other two martial artists also pressed forward, and directly started fighting. Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian were the first to breathe a sigh of relief. Both of them belonged to the category of martial artists with extremely strong explosive power. The extreme speed and strength of Chu Xiu's coiling dragon sleeve first saber was very shocking. The piercing the sun and the moon could also provide him with a strong explosive power, but when it came to the follow-up, it was not as amazing. The same was true for Lu Fengxian. His martial arts originated from the Northern Yan military, and it was not amazing. It was all about fighting and killing. What truly allowed Lu Fengxian to have such power was his innate divine strength. In addition, the martial arts of the army had a certain effect on refining the body. His halberd strike was even stronger than the splitting mountain axe. After the two of them finished resting, they joined the battle. Basically, in a few moves, the people of the Three Mountains sect were slaughtered. But at this time, the red sleeve saber in Chu Xiu's hand suddenly changed direction and slashed towards Chao Dahai. At almost the same time, Chao Dahai also slashed towards Chu Xiu. The two sabers collided. Without using the piercing the sun and the moon to condense explosive power, Chu Xiu and Chao Dahai were actually evenly matched. Both of them each took 3 steps back. Chao Dahai looked at Chu Xiu with a sinister smile. "I knew you were not reliable. Not only did you kill those 2 families, but now you want to destroy my Black Tiger gang?" Looking at the saber in Chao Dahai's hand, Chu Xiu said lightly, "Don't tell me you don't have the idea of doing evil? Or do you have the confidence to defeat us? Forgive me for being blunt, even if Patriarch Qin does not make a move, the 3 of you are not a match for us." Qin Yuanji, who was standing at the back, almost laughed out loud. He did not expect the 2 people his son had invited to be so strong. Among the warriors of the same level, they were practically in a situation where they could sweep through. This time, not only did the purple dogwood survive, but the 3 major forces of the Cold River Prefecture were also destroyed. Their Qin family, which was originally at the bottom, was now the strongest. But at this time, a voice suddenly sounded, "Young man, you are really arrogant. The three of them are not a match for you. How about it be I instead? An old man in his 60s walked into the hall. With every step he took, the marble floor cracked. The seemingly light footsteps were like heavy hammers with great force. Su Chongyang. Qin Yuanji's expression suddenly changed. His voice trembled as he said, "He is Su Chongyang, the former #1 expert of my Cold River Prefecture, with the cultivation of the qi controlling inner aura realm. But ever since he was chased out by the giant spirit gang, he has been living in seclusion for half a year. How did he get involved with the Black Tiger gang now?" Qiao Dahai withdrew his saber and retreated. He said with a cold smile, "Chu Xiu, you are not a person of this Cold River Prefecture. You do not have the qualifications to interfere in the matters here. You and that friend of yours have decent strength. Wouldn't it be a pity to die here? Now, I will give you a chance. Before I go back on my words, hand over the purple dogwood and leave the Cold River Prefecture." Actually, Qiao Dahai's original plan was to do evil. He was not some kind person. However, after witnessing Chu Xiu and LV Fengxian's abilities, he felt a little uneasy. Even if Su Chongyang was around and could kill one of them, they would still have to hold off the other for the time being. If they were to really fight, even if it was 3 against 1, after seeing Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian's invincible attitude, they didn't have any confidence in their hearts. Therefore, it was best not to force them too hard, and just let them know the difficulty and retreat. Chu Xiu said indifferently, "Leave the Cold River Prefecture?" "Gang leader Qiao, there is something you may not know. What I, Chu Xiu, hate the most is people snatching things from my hands. You can't do it, and that old thing you found also can't do it." Hearing Chu Xiu's words, Qiao Dahai's expression immediately darkened. Su Chongyang's expression was also very ugly. Although he was already over 60 years old, for a martial artist, this age only meant that his qi and blood had stopped improving. It was not too much of a decline. Chu Xiu calling him an old thing was simply an insult. Behind him, Qin Yuanji also felt somewhat uncomfortable. This purple dogwood clearly belonged to his Qin family. When did it become Chu Xiu's? Su Chongyang snorted coldly and said, "Not knowing what's good for you. Nowadays, the juniors of the pugilistic world are just this arrogant. After learning martial arts for a few days and making a name for themselves in the pugilistic world, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth after being called young hero a few times. Today, I will let you know what is called reverence." As his voice fell, Su Chongyang directly rushed towards Chu Xiu. Every step he took had a shocking aura. The bricks under his feet shattered inch by inch. His hands formed into a fist seal, and his aura was incomparably steady. It was like a mountain crashing down. Giant Spirit Martial Manual 72 Styles, Mountain Quaking Fist. Su Chongyang himself was born in the pugilistic world. After joining the Giant Spirit Gang for more than 10 years, he had not been in vain. At the very least, he had learned some of the Giant Spirit Gang's martial arts. The Giant Spirit Gang's 72 styles of the Giant Spirit Martial Manual were also quite famous in the pugilistic world. With Su Chongyang's status in the Giant Spirit Gang, although it was impossible for him to be taught the first 36 styles, among the last 36 styles, with his strength of the 5th level of the Imperial Qi realm, he could still learn a few. This mountain quaking fist's momentum was heavy. When the fist seal landed, it was like a heavy blow. If an ordinary Xiantian martial artist was hit by this fist seal, their body would immediately be smashed into pieces. It was incomparably violent and fierce. Chapter 68. Su Chongyang didn't use any weapons. When he was born in the wilderness, he used to use weapons. However, after joining the Giant Spirit Gang, he realized that his hands were the best weapons. Just now, he had already seen that Chu Xiu's saber was very fast. However, he wouldn't die if he took Chu Xiu's saber, but Chu Xiu would definitely die if he took a punch from him. As the mountain-shaking fist came crashing down, the scarlet killing intent on the edge of Chu Xiu's saber suddenly exploded. He didn't dodge or evade, but directly slashed down with his saber. It was a completely head-on routine. Su Chongyang sneered. His left hand turned into a palm and directly slapped Chu Xiu's saber to the side. The huge force even numbed Chu Xiu's hand that was holding the saber, and the red sleeve saber almost fell out of his hand. The strong wind whistled, and Chu Xiu's figure flashed backward. Su Chongyang's right hand's mountain-shaking fist came crashing down, smashing onto the stone pillar in the hall behind him. The huge stone pillar actually exploded with a loud bang and completely shattered. At this time, Chao Dahai and the other two also blocked Lu Fengxian, and began to besiege Lu Fengxian. Lu Fengxian's halberd was powerful and heavy. In a one-on-one fight, even Chao Dahai could only dodge when facing him. But now that it was 3 against 1, they could temporarily restrain Lu Fengxian, so that he couldn't help Chu Xiu. Chen Tong, who was standing at the back, asked Chen Yuanji with some hesitation, "Father, should we go?" Chen Yuanji clenched his teeth, shook his head, and said in a low voice, "We can't go. That's an expert in the inner aura realm of the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm. How can we fight? Chu Xiu won't be able to hold on. Besides, it's useless even if we take the initiative to give in now. The experts of the 3 Mountains sect and the Yu clan are all dead. The Black Tiger gang is the sole power in the Cold River Prefecture. How can they tolerate us? Right now, they're just starting to make their move. When Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian can't hold on any longer, the Black Tiger gang won't have the energy to stop us. At that time, we'll take the opportunity to escape with the purple dogwood and offer it to them. This way, our Chen family will have a chance to survive." Chen Tong was just about to say that the purple dogwood was not with Chu Xiu when he saw Chen Yuanji give him a look. Chen Tong immediately understood what his father meant. At this moment, LV Fengxian had fallen into a bitter battle, and it was the same for Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu hadn't seen many martial artists of the 5th level of the Qi-controlling realm. The ones that left the deepest impression on him were the 3 Dragon Riders' Forbidden Army members. And this Su Chongyang in front of him, his battle prowess was even stronger than the 3 Dragon Riders' Forbidden Army members. The 3 Dragon Riders' Forbidden Army members had old injuries that had yet to recover. In terms of strength, they were a level lower than Su Chongyang. Moreover, as one of the 6 gangs, the Giant Spirit Gang's techniques might not be weaker than the Dragon Riders' Forbidden Army members. The so-called realm was most directly related to the difference in strength. It wasn't that easy to make up for this gap. Su Chongyang's fists landed. Each punch was powerful and heavy. Chu Xiu could only temporarily dodge. The Azure Dragon Sleeve's extreme speed only had one chance. Chu Xiu didn't dare to use it now, or rather, it wasn't the right time to use it. Seeing that Chu Xiu could only dodge under his attacks, Su Chongyang couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride in his eyes. Previously, Chao Dahai had told him to be careful, that Chu Xiu wasn't weak, and so on. What a joke. A martial artist of Chao Dahai's level didn't even know how strong someone in the inner aura realm was. Why would he need to be careful? Although Chu Xiu's sword was indeed very fast, so fast that it surprised him, the innate stage was still the innate stage. The gap of a whole realm wasn't that easy to overcome. Just as Chu Xiu was forced into a corner by Su Chongyang, a sharp murderous intent suddenly exploded in his eyes. The continuous sword intent condensed into a line like a torrential rain. The murderous intent condensed and instantly lit up the blade, reflecting a crimson glow. At this moment, the powerful sword intent that resembled the Azure Dragon goes to sea slashed out. The powerful force exploded. By the time Su Chongyang reacted, the crimson glow of the sword was already in front of him. Feeling the strong murderous intent, Su Chongyang's hair stood on end and cold sweat slid down his face. In Chao Dahai's view, Su Chongyang was a bit brainless. In fact, he was indeed a bit reckless and arrogant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been kicked out of the Giant Spirit Gang and left the Jianghu in dismay. But after all, he was a martial artist who relied on himself to fight his way to the 5th level of Qi-controlling realm. When it came to actual combat experience, some things had already become instinct. When this could be said to be the strongest attack, Su Chongyang's fist intent suddenly changed from the mountain-shaking fist to the great hand of silk of the giant spirit 72 styles. His hands were like a spirit snake. In the blink of an eye, he hit Chu Xiu's blade with more than 10 palms. The true energy in his body completely condensed in his palms, completely defeating the power of piercing the sun and moon on the blade. But even so, at this time, his hands were stimulated by the murderous intent and were dripping with blood. There were countless small cuts on his hands. Chu Xiu hadn't reached the 5th level of qi-controlling realm, so he couldn't condense gang qi. But the murderous intent condensed by piercing the sun and moon was in no way inferior to gang qi in terms of power. The great hand of silk had completely grasped Chu Xiu's red sleeve blade. Su Chongyang's eyes still had a touch of fear. If that blade had hit him, he was absolutely sure that he could have beheaded him. Boy, I underestimated you. But now you don't have any more moves, right? Go to hell. Before the voice died away, Su Chongyang directly grabbed the red sleeve blade in Chu Xiu's hand with one hand and punched with the mountain-shaking fist with the other, attacking Chu Xiu. If this punch landed, even if Chu Xiu didn't die, he would be seriously injured. But at this time, Chu Xiu made an unexpected move. He actually abandoned the blade and got close to him, grabbing him directly with both arms. Chu Xiu's amazing blade just now had left a deep impression on him. In his opinion, this Chu Xiu must be an expert who specialized in the way of the blade. Such a warrior's strength would definitely drop by 70% without a blade. Just like the sword cultivators of the 5 major sword sects, the sword in their hands was their life. Without the sword, they would lose their life. Su Chongyang didn't know that Chu Xiu would never bet his life on one point. To him, the blade was just a handy weapon. Without the blade, he could still kill people. Su Chongyang immediately threw away the red sleeve blade in his hand to defend, but his arm was already in Chu Xiu's hand. The great abandoned grappling hand was displayed. In an instant, Su Chongyang felt a strong force coming, which made his expression suddenly change. His great silk hand was also a kind of grappling hand, so he naturally knew the horror of Chu Xiu's grappling hand. Su Chongyang's left arm shook like a snake, trying to break free from Chu Xiu's grasp. His right hand directly punched at Chu Xiu, ready to force him to retreat. Su Chongyang was not an opponent who was weaker than Chu Xiu in the past. In the face of an existence at Su Chongyang's level, even if the great abandoned grappling hand could temporarily capture the opponent, Chu Xiu could not completely crush the opponent's muscles and bones. The grappling hand was originally a kind of martial art that could move 1,000 caddies with 4 ounces of force, but if one wanted to move 1,000 caddies, one had to at least have the strength of 1,000 caddies to be able to move it with only 4 ounces of force. So in the current situation, Chu Xiu could not completely capture Su Chongyang, so he could only choose to retreat for the time being. But at this time, Chu Xiu's choice stunned him. Instead of dodging, Chu Xiu directly used the great abandoned grappling hand with all his strength. His arms were like coiling dragons as they strangled down. In an instant, Su Chongyang's arm was twisted into the shape of a fried dough twist. Su Chongyang let out a cry of pain as the force of the mountain-shaking fist landed on Chu Xiu's chest. Almost in an instant, he heard the sound of bones shattering as his internal organs were torn apart. This punch had already caused Chu Xiu to suffer heavy injuries. One's arm was crippled, and the other's internal organs were ruptured. No matter how one looked at it, it was Chu Xiu who was at a disadvantage. Although Chu Xiu could use the strength of the Xiantian realm to force an expert of the 5th level of qi-controlling realm into such a state, in fact, the one who was at a disadvantage was Su Chongyang. But at this time, Chu Xiu's face turned red, and he let out a muffled groan. Enduring the pain, he concentrated the power of piercing the sun and moon on his face, and directly spat a mouthful of blood at Su Chongyang. That was the extravasated blood caused by the rupture of Chu Xiu's internal organs. Just now, he had forcibly held back from spitting it out. But at this time, under the powerful force of piercing the sun and moon, the extravasated blood was no longer fresh blood, but a blood arrow that was like a hidden weapon. No matter how Su Chongyang defended, he did not expect that Chu Xiu would actually use this move. The blood arrow hit his face, and immediately his eyes were smashed. Su Chongyang immediately let out a cry of pain, and his figure quickly retreated. At this time, Chu Xiu was like a maggot attached to a bone, sticking close to Su Chongyang's body. The power of piercing the sun and moon gathered in his 2 fingers, causing his 2 fingers to turn red like blood. This finger fell extremely quickly, and accurately pierced into Su Chongyang's throat. A sound of bones breaking was heard, and what broke was Su Chongyang's throat, which was also Chu Xiu's finger bone. But Chu Xiu did not seem to notice, and with 2 fingers, he forcibly tore his opponent's throat. In an instant, blood splattered, spraying all over Chu Xiu's body, making him look incomparably terrifying. But Su Chongyang's figure crashed to the ground. Chapter 69. There had been cases of innate realm martial artists killing inner aura realm martial artists, and it was not rare in Jianghu. Chu Xiu had even seen those 3 dragon riders Imperial Army martial artists die at the hands of Chu Zongguang and Shinamo, even though they were inner aura realm martial artists. However, this kind of killing was done by relying on external trump cards. For Chu Xiu to kill an expert in the inner aura realm face to face, this kind of situation still made everyone feel that it was inconceivable. The most shocked were Cao Dahai and the other 2. They never thought that they would be killed by Chu Xiu after finding an expert in the inner aura realm. They were shocked in their hearts, but as their opponent, Lu Fengxian, was still incomparably calm. In the split second that Cao Dahai was distracted, the heavenly halberd in his hand was like a ferocious dragon, bringing with it an unstoppable momentum as it pierced through. With a loud bang, it directly nailed Cao Dahai to the wall. Blood flowed from Cao Dahai's mouth, and his eyes revealed a hint of unwillingness. He never thought that he would actually die in the hands of Lu Fengxian. One had to know that he had always been afraid of Chu Xiu, including the reason why he called Su Chongyang over, was actually because he was afraid of Chu Xiu. However, he did not expect that Lu Fengxian, who seemed to only have an outstanding appearance, would actually have such terrifying strength. The other 2 warriors of the Black Tiger gang were stunned. Their leader was dead. Should they still fight? One wanted to fight again because Chu Xiu was covered in blood and looked incomparably miserable. He had probably lost the ability to fight, and it was not easy for Lu Fengxian to fight 3 people in a row. After nailing Cao Dahai to death, his inner strength was about to be exhausted, and he was even panting slightly. As long as he finished off Lu Fengxian, they would win. The other one was frightened by this scene and only wanted to escape. Moreover, now that Cao Dahai was dead, the leader of the Black Tiger gang should be changed. Therefore, the 2 of them moved at the same time, but the result was that they strangely rushed in 2 different directions. One escaped from the Chen family, and the other rushed towards Lu Fengxian. Seeing this scene, the warrior who attacked Lu Fengxian wanted to curse, but Lu Fengxian did not give him the chance to curse at all. A powerful halberd had already appeared in front of him. Although Lu Fengxian had consumed a lot of her own strength, an ordinary Xiantian stage warrior was still not a problem for Lu Fengxian. After a few moves, he was directly killed by Lu Fengxian. Chu Xiu did not chase after the warrior from the Black Tiger gang who escaped. That person was already scared out of his wits. There was no point in killing him. There were more important things to do in front of him. The hall was filled with corpses and fresh blood. Qin Yuanji walked over and said with a smile, "This time, I really have to thank the 2 of you for helping my Qin family protect the purple leaf dogwood. My son has 2 good friends like you. It is really the fortune of 3 lifetimes." Chu Xiu shook off the blood on his blade and suddenly raised his head to ask, "Does Qin family head think that I'm an idiot?" The smile on Qin Yuanji's face froze, and he asked doubtfully, "Young hero Chu, why do you say that? Of course you can't be an idiot." Chu Xiu sneered and said, "Since I'm not an idiot, then do you think I'm the kind of idiot who would fight to the death just to help your Qin family protect the treasure, and in the end, only to receive a word of thanks from Qin family head? Qin Yuanji's face suddenly changed, and he said coldly, Chu Xiu. What do you mean? You also want the purple leaf dogwood? When you took the initiative to help my Qin family, I was grateful, but I didn't expect you to be such an ambitious person. At this point, Qin Yuanji's face showed a trace of grief and indignation. The two of you are strong, and I'm not a match for you. If you want the purple leaf dogwood, then take it. Consider that my Qin family has misjudged you this time. A faint smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face, but at this time, his face was covered in blood, and he looked somewhat ferocious. On the other side, the expression on Lu Fengxian's face was also as gloomy as water. Chu Xiu shook his head. I said, Qin family head, don't treat me as an idiot. I should say that from the beginning, you didn't believe the two of us at all. Chu Xiu took out the secret box containing the purple leaf dogwood, opened it, and casually threw it on the ground. There was only a pile of ordinary weeds inside. Chu Xiu turned his gaze to Lu Fengxian. Brother Lu, I said that you don't have a good eye for people. Do you believe me now? Lu Fengxian's face was gloomy and he didn't speak. Although he didn't want to believe that Qin Tong was lying to him, in fact, he had already seen that something was wrong. When Su Chongyang appeared just now, although they were at a disadvantage, they still had the strength to fight back. In the end, Qin Yuanji didn't make a move, and it was obvious that he had other thoughts. Seeing that his thoughts were seen through, Qin Yuanji put away the fake smile on his face and said coldly, Chu Xiu, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You said that I don't believe you, but you, Chu Xiu, didn't have good intentions from the beginning. You're the same as the Black Tiger Gang and the others. You're all after my Qin family's purple leaf dogwood. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows. You've guessed wrong. It doesn't matter whether I have good intentions or not. What's important is that Brother Lu really wanted to help you, but in the end, you disappointed him. Qin Yuanji glanced at Lu Fengxian and suddenly sighed. Just as he was about to say something, a sharp look suddenly appeared in his eyes. 4 golden darts appeared in his hands, and with a whistling wind, they attacked Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian. Run! Qin Yuanji shouted at Qin Tong. Right now, Chu Xiu was seriously injured and half-crippled, and Lu Fengxian was also a little exhausted. If he wanted to run, these two might not be able to catch up to him. Lu Fengxian snorted coldly and swept the long halberd in his hand. The 4 golden darts were directly swept away by him, and then he threw the long halberd in his hand. Qin Tong couldn't dodge in time and was directly hit by the long halberd. He vomited blood and was sent flying. Qin Yuanji still remembered this son of his. Just as he was about to turn around, Chu Xiu was already behind him. Using the great sacrificial grappling hand, Chu Xiu's killing intent erupted and instantly twisted Qin Yuanji's arms, crippling him. Chu Xiu directly threw Qin Yuanji and Qin Tong in front of Lu Fengxian and said casually, Brother Lu, you've lost this bet. I won't be polite with the purple leaf dogwood. How are you going to deal with these two? Lu Fengxian didn't say it directly. Instead, he stared at Qin Tong and said, You looked for me in the beginning because you wanted to use me to make a connection with the memorial hall? You should know what kind of person I, Lu Fengxian, am. Why didn't you say it directly? Why did you have to lie to me? Seeing this scene, Chu Xiu couldn't help but shake his head. This old man had fallen for many people in his life, and it wasn't the first or second time. This Qin family was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. They wanted to use the purple leaf dogwood to play a big game, but in the end, they lost themselves. If he had chosen to give the purple leaf dogwood to the 3 sects and let them fight for it, then nothing would have happened. In Chu Xiu's view, their idea of using the purple leaf dogwood to make a connection with the memorial hall was very stupid. This Qin family's patriarch obviously thought too highly of the memorial hall. The memorial hall was also a sect in the underworld. As long as it was a sect in the underworld, it was all about benefits. Even if you offered the purple leaf dogwood and made a connection with the memorial hall, it would be useless if you were too weak and too useless to bring benefits to the memorial hall. In the underworld, only benefits were eternal, but only strength was the real foundation. This Qin family's patriarch's strength was not even as good as Zhang Songling. It could be said that he was the weakest inborn expert that Chu Xiu had ever seen. With such a weak strength, he dared to scheme to make a connection with the memorial hall. This was the kind of person who didn't know his place. At this time, facing Lu Fengxian's accusation, Qin Tong's face revealed a trace of regret. However, he didn't regret lying to Lu Fengxian. He regretted bringing Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian together when he found out that they were together. He shouldn't have brought them to the Qin family. Unfortunately, it was all too late now. So Qin Tong directly gritted his teeth and said, "Brother Lu, this matter is my family's fault. You can kill me, but please let my father go." He knew Lu Fengxian's character. He was decisive enough to deal with his enemies, but when it came to his friends, Lu Fengxian probably wouldn't be so ruthless. On the other side, Qin Yuanji also said in a hoarse voice, "Young heroes, this matter is all my fault. I was the one who came up with the idea. Please let my son go." Lu Fengxian let out a long breath. He directly said to Chu Xiu, "I'll leave it to you." After that, Lu Fengxian directly picked up his halberd and stood at the door. Qin Tong was right. Lu Fengxian couldn't be ruthless to his former friends, but it didn't mean that he was soft-hearted. Even in the face of Qin Tong's deception, he wouldn't let him go. Lu Fengxian knew Chu Xiu's character. Since he said that he would leave it to Chu Xiu, he didn't care what Chu Xiu would do to them. Chapter 70. Chu Xiu was a little surprised that Lu Fengxian asked him to deal with Qin Tong and his son. He thought that Lu Fengxian would let them go. However, after thinking about it, Chu Xiu felt relieved. The current Lu Fengxian was not the Lu Fengxian in the original plot. This was a real world. Compared with the unchanging game, people's hearts would change. The things that Lu Fengxian would experience in the original plot might not necessarily be experienced by the Lu Fengxian in the current world. Moreover, with Chu Xiu's intervention, Lu Fengxian might also experience some other things. This sudden thought made Chu Xiu a little anxious. Chu Xiu had always ignored one thing, and that was the butterfly effect. Since his rebirth, this world had actually deviated from the plot. Although the incident of the Chu family had happened, Shinemo, a person who should not have died, had died. These were all trivial matters, so they would not cause the general plot to change for the time being. However, when Chu Xiu became stronger and stronger, or when he came into contact with more and more people, even Chu Xiu himself did not know what the world would eventually become. Simply put, compared with others, Chu Xiu's only advantage might gradually disappear. Chu Xiu shook his head, and there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Whether it was the butterfly effect or the plot change, in this world, strength was the foundation of everything. As long as Chu Xiu kept moving forward towards this goal and reached the peak of this world, he would be able to rest easy and not be afraid of anything. In his previous life, he had endured for long enough. In this life, he naturally had to act bravely and aggressively. At the same time, he had to be careful of scheming in his heart. Only in this way could he walk all the way to the true peak. Chu Xiu tossed these thoughts to the back of his mind for the time being and looked at Qin Yuanji and his son. He searched their bodies but didn't find any violet dogwood. He said indifferently, "Is there any use in putting on a show of deep affection between father and son at this time? Hand over the purple dogwood." When they saw Lu Fengxian hand them over, Qin Yuanji and his son were in despair. They had only been in contact with Chu Xiu for 2 days, but they had already realized what kind of person he was. If they were to fall into his hands, they would probably be doomed. Qin Tong looked at him expectantly. "If we hand over the violet dogwood, will you let us go?" Chu Xiu shook his head. "It seems that you still don't understand what I mean. I asked you to hand over the purple dogwood. Is it so hard to understand?" As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu directly stabbed the knife into Qin Tong's chest. He twisted the handle of the knife, but Qin Tong was already dead. Seeing his son killed in front of him, Qin Yuanji was instantly stunned. Chu Xiu drew his saber and said to him lightly, "You too. I'll give you a chance to hand over the purple dogwood." Qin Yuanji's eyes were bloodshot as he yelled at Chu Xiu crazily, "Dream on. I've hidden the purple dogwood. You won't be able to find it even if you turn the entire Qin family upside down. You killed my son. This time, I'll make sure that all your efforts will be in vain." Chu Xiu shook his head helplessly and said, "Another one who doesn't understand human language." This time, Chu Xiu didn't kill Qin Yuanji, nor did he waste his energy to really turn the Qin family upside down. He was still seriously injured. The most important thing was to take the items and find a place to recuperate. Chu Xiu went directly to the inner residence in the backyard of the Qin family and forced some of the Qin family's collateral disciples and Qin Yuanji's direct relatives out. The Qin family wasn't strong to begin with. Other than Qin Yuanji, who was a Khanate realm expert, and Qin Tong, who was at the blood condensation realm, the rest were at the body tempering realm. Therefore, when they were fighting, Qin Yuanji didn't even let them come out to die. Instead, he made them all stay in the inner residence and were not allowed to come out no matter what they heard. In the end, they were all defeated by Chu Xiu. Seeing that Chu Xiu had forced dozens of people out, Qin Yuanji gritted his teeth and said, "Chu Xiu, you don't follow the rules of the underworld." "Rules of the underworld? Who set the rules?" Chu Xiu said lightly, "Qin Yuanji, you think that you've been in the underworld for your entire life. In fact, you don't even know what the underworld is. Only those with a saber in their hands have the right to set the rules. Now that I have a saber in my hands, my words are the rules." Chu Xiu didn't continue to interrogate Qin Yuanji. He directly turned his gaze to a martial artist in his 30s and asked, "What's your position in the Qin family?" The martial artist trembled and said, "Manager." "You're a manager in your 30s? Are you a collateral descendant of the Qin family?" The martial artist reluctantly nodded. "Do you know where the purple leaf dogwood is?" The Qin family's manager hesitated for a moment and shook his head. However, before he could react, Chu Xiu directly slashed out with his saber and instantly decapitated the corpse, causing everyone in the Qin family to let out a scream. Lu Fengxian, who was standing at the entrance of the hall, frowned. He didn't agree with Chu Xiu's indiscriminate killing of innocent people, but he didn't say much when he thought of what Qin Yuanji and his son had done. Chu Xiu turned his gaze to the second person expressionlessly. "Do you know where the purple leaf dogwood is?" The second martial artist was in his 40s and was also a collateral descendant of the Qin family. When he saw Chu Xiu's gaze turn over, he immediately broke down and shouted, "Don't kill me. I know. The purple leaf dogwood is in the secret room in the patriarch's house, but the key to open the secret room is in the hands of the patriarch and the young master. Only when the two keys are combined can the secret room be opened." Chu Xiu curled his lips and said, "Take the key to open the secret room and bring me the purple leaf dogwood and the Qin family's medicinal pills. Don't think about escaping, unless you are confident that you can be faster than me." The Qin family's collateral descendant trembled as he searched Qin Tong's corpse for a copper cloud pattern that looked like an ornament. Then, under Qin Yuanji's murderous gaze, he found a very similar cloud pattern on his body. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell that it was the key. Holding the key, the Qin family's collateral descendant almost used the fastest speed to bring the purple leaf dogwood and a large bag of bottles and jars to Chu Xiu and said with a trembling voice, "Sir, the Qin family's treasures are all here." Chu Xiu patted his shoulder and praised, "Not bad, from now on, you are the Qin family's patriarch." The collateral descendant was stunned and stammered, but the patriarch, before he could finish his words, Chu Xiu directly pierced Qin Yuanji with his saber and pulled out the crimson saber. He shook off the blood on the saber and said, "It's done now. You are the new patriarch." After putting these things into the secret space box, Chu Xiu directly left with Lu Fengxian. Apart from Qin Yuanji and his son, there were no other direct descendants in the Qin family. After killing the two of them, the direct descendants could be considered to be completely destroyed. Moreover, before leaving, Chu Xiu casually appointed a collateral descendant to be the patriarch. He just said it casually, but things like power can make people lose themselves. Without the direct descendants, how the collateral descendants would fight was not something that Chu Xiu would consider. Now that Chu Xiu was seriously injured, he was not in a hurry to return to Luyang town. Instead, he planned to find a remote barren mountain to recuperate. On the way, Lu Fengxian suddenly said, "Brother Chu, this time you helped me, I will leave all the purple leaf dogwood to you. I won't take my share." Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "It's not really helping you. Actually, my goal from the beginning was the purple leaf dogwood. Moreover, if you hadn't stopped those 3 from the Black Tiger gang, I wouldn't have been able to kill Su Chongyang." Lu Fengxian shook her head firmly and said, "The meaning is different. To me, you are helping me." Seeing that Lu Fengxian was so insistent, Chu Xiu did not argue, because that was Lu Fengxian's personality. If you helped him a little, he would return 10 times the favor. Therefore, in the original plot, Nie Donglu was mostly trying to win over Lu Fengxian. But even so, in the end, Lu Fengxian was still willing to help Nie Donglu, and even took the blame for him. "By the way, Brother Chu, I have something to say, although you might not like it." Lu Fengxian looked at Chu Xiu and said, "Brother Chu, your personality is a little extreme, and it's easy for you to kill too many people, just like how you killed the collateral descendant of the Qin family today. Although killing is inevitable in the pugilistic world, you can't be controlled by killing intent. My master once said that when he was in the northern Yan military, he fought with eastern Qi and killed countless people. In the end, he was so angry that he almost killed his own people. This kind of situation is a shock to the state of mind, and it can easily affect future cultivation." Lu Fengxian did not blame Chu Xiu for killing innocent people. He was just worried that if Chu Xiu continued killing, it would be easy for him to fall into the devil's path. Chu Xiu smiled and said, "Brother Lu, if I said that I actually don't like killing, would you believe me?" Lu Fengxian did not say anything, but just looked at Chu Xiu with an expression that said, "Do you think I would believe you?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "I'm telling the truth. Killing is just a means to me to achieve my goal. If there is a more convenient and faster way, I would not want to kill people. But most of the time, killing is the best way to solve problems. Just like just now, there is a great fear between life and death. Although there are many people in this world who are not afraid of death, there are definitely not many. You also saw that killing only one person saved me a lot of energy and time. It's very worth it. Also, you don't have to worry that I will be affected by the killing intent and evil aura. Among the cultivation techniques I'm practicing now, there is a devil's cultivation technique that can gather the killing intent and evil aura between heaven and earth to attack the enemy. Its power in close combat is not inferior to Gang Qi. No matter what kind of power it is just a means to me, a kind of tool. People will not be driven and influenced by tools." Lu Fengxian nodded. It was good that Chu Xiu knew this. Moreover, some of Chu Xiu's theories sounded very novel to him, and he felt a little emotional and inspired. Chapter 71. In the Battle of Cold River Mansion, Chu Xiu's injuries were more serious. After all, Su Chongyang was a qi-controlling inner aura realm martial artist. Chu Xiu's bones were fractured and his internal organs were severely injured. If it were anyone else, they would be seriously injured. But Chu Xiu was different. He had the glazed gold thread goo. After Chu Xiu was injured, the glazed gold thread goo could not absorb the qi and blood in Chu Xiu's body, so it instinctively released its own power to repair the injuries in Chu Xiu's body. Therefore, Chu Xiu's recovery speed was more than 10 times that of other martial artists. Of course, this time, Chu Xiu's biggest gain was the 6th rank elixir, purple dogwood. Normally speaking, a 6th revolution spirit herb would only be able to display its greatest medicinal effect when it was refined into a pill. However, refining a pill required a pill recipe and a very experienced alchemist. Such an existence basically came from a big sect. Even if Chu Xiu spent a lot of money to invite them to refine pills, he reckoned that they would not be willing to pay any attention to him. Therefore, Chu Xiu directly took out the purple dogwood and swallowed it into his stomach and began to refine it. The purple dogwood looked similar to a normal dogwood. The only difference was that the leaves were amethyst in color, which was very strange. Ordinary first-rank to third-rank herbs could be cultivated on a large scale, but basically, the existence of fourth rank and above could be called elixir. It could not be cultivated artificially, so it could only be opened from a secret box, or could only go to some mountains and old forests to try their luck. Anyway, this kind of thing was a consumable, and the more it was used, the less it would be. After swallowing the purple dogwood, Chu Xiu suddenly felt a heat rising from his dantian. When he refined the purple dogwood, the power of the glazed gold thread goo began to help Chu Xiu refine the elixir, which was unexpected to Chu Xiu. When the original plot introduced the glazed gold thread goo, it did not say that it had such an effect. Of course, it was also possible that the moon-worshipping cult did not discover it. After all, the glazed gold thread goo did not stay in the hands of the moon-worshipping cult for long before it was lost. 7 days later, the elixir was completely refined, and even Chu Xiu's injuries were healed. The medicinal power of the purple dogwood was indeed amazing. Chu Xiu could even feel that his cultivation had improved a lot under the enhancement of the elixir. Of course, he had not reached the threshold of the inner aura realm yet. Over the past 7 days, LV Fengxian had been standing guard outside for Chu Xiu. Seeing Chu Xiu come out of seclusion, LV Fengxian was astonished. "Brother Chu, you've already recovered from your injuries in such a short period of time?" He knew how miserable Chu Xiu was when he took Su Chongyang's punch head-on. However, from the looks of it, Chu Xiu's injuries seemed to have healed. Chu Xiu nodded and said, "My cultivation talent is not high, and my aptitude can only be regarded as average. The only advantage is that I heal faster after being injured." In the pugilistic world, the hardest thing to understand was the human heart. The glazed gold thread goo was a big secret for Chu Xiu. At least for Chu Xiu, who did not have the strength to protect the glazed gold thread goo, this matter must not be known to others. Therefore, even if Chu Xiu knew Lu Fengxian's character, he would never reveal the matter, but Chu Xiu also did not dare to tell his secret to Lu Fengxian. Being brave and aggressive when fighting was normal, it was like walking on thin ice and being more careful. After all, the negative example was right in front of him. Because the Qin family couldn't see themselves clearly, they wanted to use a treasure as a bargaining chip to exchange for benefits. That was why they ended up in such a state. Lu Fengxian did not doubt what Chu Xiu said. The pugilistic world was so big, and it was normal for some warriors to have some extraordinary talents. For example, he had a handsome face, but in fact, he was born with divine strength. He could wield a heavy weapon like halberd like a toy in his hands. "Brother Chu, where are you going next?" "I came out of Yanxi this time and plan to wander in the Yan kingdom for a while," Lu Fengxian asked. Chu Xiu patted Lu Fengxian's shoulder and said, "Don't be so anxious to go out. Go back to Luyang Mountain and have a look. Maybe there will be a surprise. It has been rumored for a long time that Luyang Mountain has a rare treasure. We should be able to see it when we go back now." "Is there really a rare treasure on Luyang Mountain?" Lu Fengxian nodded and agreed without thinking. Anyway, he was ready to travel in the pugilistic world this time. It was the same wherever he went. When Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian returned to Luyang Mountain again, it was more lively than the last time. The reason was that in the past few days, Luyang Mountain would shine with a green light almost every night. The only strange thing was that everyone searched the entire Luyang Mountain and did not find anything unusual. However, even so, everyone could be sure that something was wrong with Luyang Mountain. At this time, it attracted the disciples of some big forces. When Chu Xiu heard the news, he thought to himself, "The relic in Luyang Mountain is probably going to open soon. When the time comes, I'll just have to see how many people I can attract." In any case, there will definitely be an intense competition. In the loyalty manner, because someone reported what happened in Luyang Mountain to Nie Donglu, Nie Donglu thought about it and prepared to bring some people to Luyang Mountain. No one knew whether there were treasures in Luyang Mountain or not, but he had been in the Loyalty Manor for a while. It was a good time to go out and take a walk. Even if there were no treasures, it was good to relax. Otherwise, if there were really treasures, it would take at least 10 days from the Loyalty Manor to Luyang Mountain. By then, the treasures would have been snatched away. At this time, Nie Donglu seemed to think of something. The person Zhang Baitao wanted to kill last time was in Luyang Mountain, right? Nie Donglu asked the Loyalty Manor disciple beside him, by the way, how is Zhang Baitao? After such a long time, there should be news, right? The disciple said, there was news a long time ago, but young Manor Master was in seclusion at that time, so I didn't disturb you. Oh. Zhang Baitao killed that person? Nie Donglu frowned. He had used his connections to get revenge, but Zhang Baitao didn't even come back to thank him. This person was too unruly. The disciple shook his head and said, no, it was the Chu Xiu that Zhang Baitao wanted to kill. He killed all 4 of them in the inn in Luyang village. Nie Donglio's eyes were filled with surprise when he heard this. He knew the strength of Lu Yuanhai and the other 2. While they were not strong, they were not weak among the wandering cultivators of this generation in Linzhong Commandery. He did not know Zhang Baitao's strength, but as an inner sect disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, he would not be weak. It could be said that Nie Donglu would have to expend a lot of effort to defeat these 4 people. But they had fallen at the hands of another wandering cultivator. This was unbelievable. Nie Donglio's eyes revealed a trace of interest. If Chu Xiu was still in Lvyang Mountain, he was prepared to spend a lot of effort to recruit him. In reality, for Nie Donglu, compared to the disciples of the large sects, he was more inclined to befriend the powerful gangsters and wandering cultivators. When he befriended the disciples of the large sects, they first considered the benefits of the sects behind them. But when he befriended the wandering cultivators without any background, they had no benefits and could be used by him. As for the lives of those people, Nie Donglu really did not care. Zhang Baitao was just an ordinary inner sect disciple, not one of the true direct disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Of course he could befriend him. Now that he was dead, it would not affect Nie Donglu much. As for Lu Yuanhai and the other 2, they dared to come to the morgue to eat and drink and take advantage of others. Even without this matter, Nie Donglu was prepared to find a chance to deal with the 3 of them. This Chu Xiu had such strength at such a young age. If he befriended him now, when he took over the morgue, it would be of great help to him. Nie Donglu thought and said, go take a few people and prepare. We will leave for Luyang Mountain tomorrow morning. At this time, Nie Donglu was not the only one preparing to go to Luyang Mountain. Because of the increasing activity at Luyang Mountain, almost all the factions near Luyang Mountain had sent their disciples to Luyang Mountain. Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian had long since prepared. The 2 of them went up the mountain first and found a quiet corner to sit down cross-legged, paying attention to the activity on the mountain. Now, there would be green light shooting into the sky from Luyang Mountain every night as though it was seeping out of the ground. Many people had started to dig, but found nothing. Chu Xiu knew that this was because the relic formation inside Luyang Mountain was about to lose its effectiveness. It probably would not be long before the formation completely broke, and the relic would open. There was an ancient expert buried in the ruins, and there were many good things left behind by that expert. With so many people here, Chu Xiu was not greedy enough to want to take everything away. That was too unrealistic. However, there were a few important things that he was determined to obtain. Chapter 72. Just as Chu Xiu and the others were patiently waiting there, a commotion suddenly came from the foot of the mountain. A group of cultivators clustered around a few people as they walked up, greeting each other. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows. It seemed like some important people had arrived. Chu Xiu turned his head and asked a slightly wretched-looking martial artist beside him, Old Bao, do you know who's coming? Old Bao was a local rogue martial artist in Luyang town. He was the guy who was almost hacked to death by Lu Yuanhai when Zhang Baitao and the others besieged Chu Xiu. Fortunately, he was saved by Lu Fengxian. Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian met him when they returned to Luyang town. After thanking Lu Fengxian for saving his life, he stayed by their side. After all, he was only a body-tempering realm martial artist. It was an honor to be able to stay by the side of a Xiantian realm martial artist. Chu Xiu did not drive him away. Although Bao Laosan's strength was poor, he was the local bully of Liang town. Moreover, he was a gossipy person, so he knew a lot about the martial arts in the counties around Linzhong Commandery. With Bao Laosan's presence, Chu Xiu could get a lot of news. Old Bao's eyes showed a hint of envy when he heard that. He said, "Who else in the northern Yan land can have such a big show? Of course it's the young master of the loyalty village, Ling Yun Buyu in Nye Donglu. TSK, it's said that young master Nye is talented and humble. He has connections all over the martial arts world. There's even a rumor that if you can become friends with young master Nye, the loyalty village will always open its doors to you. It's a pity that I, old Bao, am not capable enough. I won't have the chance to step into the loyalty village in this lifetime." Hearing Nye Donglio's name, Chu Xiu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He said indifferently, "The doors of the morgue will indeed be open to Nye Donglio's friends. However, if you want to be Nye Donglio's friend, you must be worthy. Worthless existences are not worthy of being his friend." Third Bao did not dare to say anything. The morgue was so famous in the northern Yan that even a low-level martial artist like him did not dare to say anything bad about it. Surrounded by the crowd, Nye Donglu had a smile on his face as he greeted the many warriors present. He recognized some of them, but most of them he didn't know. Regardless of whether these people were strong or weak, Nye Donglu took care of every aspect of his appearance, not leaving anything out. He gave off a feeling like a spring breeze, and attracted the praise of all the warriors present. After greeting everyone one by one, there were only a dozen people left beside Nye Donglu. These people were all from large clans or sects near Liuyang Mountain. They all had experts in the 5th tier of the Qi-controlling realm, which was why they could chat and laugh with Nye Donglu here. Among them, a tall and handsome man in a golden robe stood up. He was even second to Lu Fengxian in appearance. He cupped his hands at Nye Donglu and said, "Young master, I heard that you've been in seclusion in the loyalty village. Why did you come to Liuyang Mountain this time? I thought that the loyalty village would only send some ordinary disciples to have a look. I didn't expect you to come personally. Whether there are treasures in Liuyang Mountain or not, you can't just leave like this. I recently found a batch of good wine. It's a 50-year-old drunken dragon incense. I'm waiting for you to taste it." Nye Donglu smiled and said, "Being in seclusion in the loyalty village is a bit boring. This is a good opportunity to relax. I heard that the Yu clan of Bailing Prefecture is preparing a marriage alliance with the Mu clan of Bailing Prefecture. Is this batch of drunken dragon incense going to be prepared for the engagement ceremony?" This young man was the eldest son of the Yu clan of Bailing Prefecture, Yu Luchuan of Linzhong Prefecture. The Yu clan had a very high status in Bailing Prefecture. When the Bailing Prefecture was mentioned, people would only think of the Yu clan. In Bailing Prefecture, the other small clans couldn't compare to the Yu clan at all. When Yu Luchuan heard Nye Donglio's question, his expression changed. He forced a smile and said, "It's just an engagement ceremony. It's not a big deal. When would the young master like to drink this drunken dragon incense? I'll prepare it immediately." Someone teased him, "Young master Yu, are you not very satisfied with this marriage? The Mu clan's young lady is also very beautiful. Young master Yu, weren't you very happy about it before? I heard that you went to Yen South a while ago and hooked up with the daughter of the divine martial sect leader in just a few months. I'm afraid you don't like that small clan in Bailing Prefecture anymore. Young master, I'm afraid you won't be able to attend the engagement ceremony. Young master Yu is probably planning to break the engagement, right?" Nye Donglu raised his eyebrows when he heard this. This was Yu Luchuan's family matter, so he didn't care. However, he was a little interested in the matter of Yu Luchuan hooking up with the divine martial sect's young lady. The Divine Martial Sect was also a large clan in northern Yan, one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. It was located in Yan South, but it was a little far from here. Linzhong Prefecture and Leping Prefecture were both in Yan East. However, the Divine Martial Sect was still one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, and was much stronger than the Yu clan. If Yu Luchuan could really marry the Divine Martial Sect, then the Yu clan's power would increase by a lot. Of course, Nie Donglu didn't care for such methods. He was a strong person. If he wanted to gain power, he could rely on methods and schemes, but he would never choose to rely on women. Most importantly, this guy was still engaged. If he broke the engagement now and went to find a higher power, the Yu clan's reputation would be tarnished. Yu Luchuan angrily pointed at the warrior and shouted, "Shut up! Don't spread rumors in front of the young master. When did the Yu clan plan to break the engagement? If you talk nonsense again, I won't let you off." Seeing that the tension between the two sides was rather strong, Nie Donglu quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. He said, "All right, everyone. It is not worth fighting over such a small matter. By the way, does anyone know if Chu Xiu is on Luyang Mountain?" Everyone present had a perplexed look on their faces. To these warriors who came from large factions, whether it was Chu Xiu's annihilation of the Mountain Sun Prefecture's Zhang family or his massacre in Liuyang town, these were considered trivial matters. Of course, they had never heard of them. As for Zhang Baitao, although he was a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, this was northern Yan, far away from West Chu. Except for the people of Shanyang Prefecture, no one else had even heard of Zhang Baitao's name. If an elder of the Ba Mountain Sword sect died here, it would probably cause a stir. At this moment, a person from a small aristocratic family in the vicinity of Luyang town walked out and said, "The Chu Xiu that young manor master mentioned, is he the Chu Xiu that killed 4 Xiantian realm martial artists in Luyang town?" Nie Donglu said, "Yes, that's him." "Is he on Luyang Mountain now?" That warrior had the lowest status in this group. Usually, he could only watch Nie Donglu talk and laugh with others. At this time, he finally found a chance to interact with Nie Donglu. He quickly said, "I heard from the servants that he has been on Luyang Mountain for a few days. I'll take you there now, young master." Nie Donglu turned around and cupped his hands at the others. He said, "Everyone, please chat first. I'll go get to know a rising young talent in the Jianghu. I'll bring him to you later." Everyone present nodded. They knew that Nie Donglu was forthright and loyal, and liked to make friends. However, in their opinion, Nie Donglu should be making friends with warriors who came from powerful factions. What was the point of hanging out with those Jianghu ruffians who had no background? At this time, Chu Xiu was still chatting with Lu Fengxian. Third Bao, who was next to them, would interrupt from time to time, gossiping about the local Jianghu. At this time, they felt that most of the people around them were looking at them. Chu Xiu looked up and saw a warrior walking toward them with Nie Donglu in a humble manner. Third Bao, who was behind them, opened his mouth wide. He had just been talking about Nie Donglu. He did not expect to see him in person so soon. This made him very excited. Coming to Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian, Nie Donglu cupped his hands and said, "Are you brother Chu Xiu?" After that, Nie Donglu looked at Lu Fengxian and asked, "And this is?" Lu Fengxian said lightly, "Lu Fengxian of Yuyang in Yanxi, just a nobody." Nie Donglu thought about it and laughed out loud. "Young Marquis Wen is quite famous in Yanxi. How can you be a nobody?" Lu Fengxian was a little surprised. She did not expect Nie Donglu to even know his name. However, Lu Fengxian's expression was still calm. In fact, Lu Fengxian had a good impression of Nie Donglu. After all, there was no one in the entire northern Yan who would say bad things about Nie Donglu. However, after knowing the grudge between Chu Xiu and Nie Donglu, and listening to Chu Xiu's analysis of Nie Dongliu's character, Lu Fengxian now felt that Nie Dongliu's courteous and forthright smile was a little fake. In the original plot, the two of them were good friends. However, with Chu Xiu's interference in this life, the two of them were completely strangers. Chapter 73. Seeing Nie Donglu take the initiative to talk to Chu Xiu and Lu Fengxian, Lu Yangshan and the other wandering martial artists all looked envious, including third Bao behind Chu Xiu. In northern Yan, to be chosen by the young master of the loyalty village and take the initiative to make friends with him proved that you were capable. It also proved that you could call yourself a good friend of Nie Donglu and use the name of the loyalty village to do things. Of course, since you claimed to be from the morgue, if the morgue asked for your help or Nie Donglu asked for your help, you should agree as well. This was very normal in the eyes of others, because for most martial artists, even if they wanted to help the memorial hall, they would not have the opportunity. Chu Xiu looked at Nie Donglu without any change in his expression. He said indifferently, I am just a common person in the Jianghu. I have no right to be brothers with the young master of the loyalty village. Nie Donglu laughed heartily and said, in the Jianghu, as long as there are like-minded people, we can all be brothers. Brother Chu, it seems that you still don't know what kind of person I am. To me, I only make friends based on their temperament and themselves, not their background. So what if you are a common person in the Jianghu? My loyalty village is a common person in the Jianghu. My father did not even have a decent weapon when he was young. My loyalty village does not care about background. We only gather the spirit of brotherhood in the Jianghu. I, Nie Donglu, am the same. Chu Xiu clapped his hands and said, well said, young master. Unfortunately, I do not dare to be your friend now. Oh, why? Nie Donglu raised his eyebrows and asked. Over the years, he had befriended countless martial artists of the pugilistic world. Most of them were happy to befriend him after knowing his identity and name. Even if they were not happy, they would rarely have the same attitude as Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu sneered and said, of course I'm afraid that after I become your friend, I'll be dragged into killing people because of a favor. If I'm unlucky and die in the hands of others, I won't even have someone to collect my body. Wouldn't that be very pitiful? Chu Xiu looked straight at Nie Donglu and said indifferently, young master, the corpses of Zhang Baitao and the others are still strewn on the wasteland outside of Luyang town. Aren't you going to help them? Upon hearing this, Nie Dongliu's expression immediately darkened. As the middleman, he had helped Zhang Baitao contact Lu Yuanhai and the others to kill Chu Xiu. He actually knew about it. Idiot. He wasn't scolding anyone but Zhang Baitao and the others. He had already revealed his intentions to Zhang Baitao and the others at the Morgue village. The Morgue village would not get involved in the Jianghu vendetta. Otherwise, if there was one, there would be another. This kind of thing was not good for the Morgue village's reputation. Zhang Baitao and the others were not idiots. They should know what to do. Killing people was not idle chatter. Why would they talk so much in front of Chu Xiu? Of course, this matter could not be blamed on Zhang Baitao and the others. When they made their move, besides the people in the morgue, no one would think of Nie Donglu. However, when Zhang Baitao was killing Chu Xiu, he was afraid that Lu Yuanhai and the others would be hesitant. In a moment of desperation, he spat out the words, young master, which made Chu Xiu think of Nie Donglu. After Chu Xiu said this, Nie Donglu knew that it was impossible for him to recruit Chu Xiu. If Chu Xiu did not know that he was in cahoots and helped Zhang Baitao to kill him, then Nie Donglu could openly recruit and befriend Chu Xiu. He just had to make sure that the disciples in the morgue who knew about this kept their mouths shut. Now that Chu Xiu knew about this matter, there was definitely no hope for him. No one could be thick-skinned enough to befriend someone after knowing that he had made such a great contribution to killing him. Of course, even if there was such a person, Nie Donglu would not dare to befriend such a person if he expressed that he did not care about these things. A person who could do this, unless he was really an idiot, was really patient. He was like a venomous snake. Nie Donglu did not dare to keep such a person by his side. After thinking this through, Nie Donglu said calmly to Chu Xiu, if I said that it was a misunderstanding, would you believe me, brother Chu? Chu Xiu also said indifferently, young master, do you think I would believe you? Moreover, even if I said I would believe you and that I did not care about that matter, would you believe me, young master? Between the two of them, one would believe it, and the other would believe it. The warrior who brought Nie Donglu and third Bao behind Chu Xiu were dumbfounded. They did not know what the two of them were talking about. Nie Donglu looked deeply at Chu Xiu, then turned around and left. The moment he turned around, Nie Dongliu's face revealed a strong murderous intent, but it only lasted for a moment. To Nie Donglu, there were only three kinds of people in the martial world: friends, people who could become friends, and enemies. If Chu Xiu didn't know about this, Nie Donglu could recruit him without worry. Even if he didn't succeed, it didn't matter. After all, Nie Donglu didn't expect all the young elites in the world to be his friends. And if Zhang Baitao and the others died, then so be it. Forget about revenge, he didn't even have the interest to collect their corpses. However, the problem was that Chu Xiu now knew everything. Although the question of whether to believe or not sounded like a tongue twister, Nie Donglu actually understood what he meant. Chu Xiu was a sensible person. Since the grudge had already been formed, he could not join the morgue. Even if he joined, Nie Donglu would not believe him. Therefore, the grudge between the two could not be resolved. Chu Xiu was not his friend, nor could he become his friend. Therefore, he could only become his enemy. However, although Chu Xiu was strong, he was still a small fry in Nie Dongliu's eyes. He had no backing, so he did not need to do it himself. He did not even need to mobilize the people from the morgue to kill Chu Xiu. That would only bring shame to himself and the morgue. He, Nie Donglu, wanted to deal with a small fry. Since when did he have to do it himself? Returning to the group, Yu Luchuan and the others were surprised to see Nie Donglu return alone. Yu Luchuan asked, "Young master, didn't you go to recruit that Chu Xiu? Why didn't he agree?" Nie Donglu smiled bitterly and nodded. Yu Luchuan's expression darkened. He snorted coldly and said, "Young master, you personally went to befriend him. That is giving him face. Chu Xiu does not know what is good for him. He is shameless. He is just a little wandering cultivator. He really thinks he is someone." The others also nodded in agreement. Clearly, they were thinking the same thing. Nie Donglu smiled bitterly and said, "Never mind. In reality, this matter cannot be blamed on Chu Xiu. We have some misunderstandings between us. In the past, Chu Xiu destroyed the Zhang family of Mountain Sun Prefecture. In the end, the eldest son of the Zhang family, Zhang Baitao, who joined the Ba Mountain Sword sect and became an inner sect disciple, came back. Because of the destruction of the family, he came to me for help. But everyone should know that my morgue village never participates in matters like killing in the Jianghu. So I refused Zhang Baitao. But who would have thought that Zhang Baitao secretly contacted 3 people in my morgue village and promised them great benefits to help him kill Chu Xiu. They all died at Chu Xiu's hands. Now, Chu Xiu thinks that I sent the 3. Alas, I didn't consider this matter thoroughly. After all, this matter happened in my mortuary manner. It's normal for Chu Xiu to misunderstand me. It's a pity that he reached the Xiantian realm at such a young age. If nothing unexpected happened, I really wanted to befriend him. Zhang Baitao is the same. While he killed his father, there is no need to be in such a hurry. Right now, he and the other 3 died at Chu Xiu's hands. I just learned of this. Their corpses were left outside Luyang village. We knew each other. After this matter is over, I will send people to bury them, and also have people send the news of Zhang Baitao's death back to Ba Mountain Sword sect. Nie Dongliu's words pushed all the blame onto the dead men and Chu Xiu. Everyone who heard this was filled with righteous indignation and cursed these people for being despicable. Because the young master did not want to help him get revenge, Zhang Baitao privately contacted people in the morgue village. He really broke the rules. And the 3 people in the morgue village, because Zhang Baitao promised great benefits, privately agreed to help him kill people. They did not care about the reputation of the Morgue village. They were also not good people. The most infuriating was Chu Xiu. It clearly had nothing to do with the young master. It was a complete misunderstanding. But he could not tell right from wrong, and dared to not give the young master face. He was being shameless. In the end, Yu Luchuan sighed emotionally. The young master is the young master. Zhang Baitao and the other three broke the rules. If it were me, I would not even care. Only a loyal person like the young master would want to help them collect their corpses. His voice changed. Yu Luchuan snorted coldly. Young master, don't worry. Since Chu Xiu did not want face, I will go teach him a lesson and get revenge for you. Hearing Yu Luchuan's words, everyone present agreed. They wanted to use this opportunity to curry favor with Nie Donglu. In their eyes, Nie Donglu was just an ordinary Xiantian realm cultivator with no background. Wouldn't they be able to do anything to him? You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.